My dad tried to push my grandpa down the stairs for standing up for me. That single move exposed years of lies, got him arrested, and cost him the house he never even owned, the same one he kicked me out of. Hey Reddit, not sure how to even start this, but let's just say my family was the kind of messed up that makes you question if you were adopted. I used to think I was just unlucky. Turns out I was just surrounded by the wrong people. What started as a typical my sister gets everything story turned into something way darker, and honestly, a little satisfying. Buckle up because this one's not your usual family drama. If you ever want to see what favoritism looks like in its purest form, meet my family. Felix was 16 when it really hit me that I wasn't the son. I was the designated punching bag. My sister Ashley, 2 years older, was the golden child. She could set the kitchen on fire, and my parents would find a way to blame me for leaving the matches out. I stopped trying to argue about it years ago. Every "that wasn't me" just turned into "don't lie, Felix." So I started keeping score. Not in a journal or anything dramatic, just in my head. Every time she screwed up and I took the fall, I mentally ticked another point for her side of the scoreboard. Spoiler, she was undefeated. The best example? The car incident. That one's burned into my brain. Ashley had just gotten her learner's permit, which, in her mind, automatically made her a NASCAR driver. One afternoon, while my parents were out, she decided to practice. I was in my room playing guitar when I heard the engine outside rev like a lawnmower on steroids. Then came the crash, loud enough to shake the windows. I ran out to find our parents' car halfway through the front window of Mrs. Geller's boutique. Ashley was sitting behind the wheel, crying and saying, "It just slipped, like the car jumped into drive on its own." I knew right then I was screwed. When Mom and Dad came home, I expected shouting, at least at her. But no. Mom hugged Ashley like she just survived a tornado. Dad looked at the wreck and said, "How could you let your sister do this, Felix?" That's right. Somehow it was my fault for not stopping her. They called Mrs. Geller to apologize and promised to cover the damages. The next day, they told me I'd be helping by paying for part of it. My allowance, which was already a joke compared to Ashley's, got cut off completely. Dad even sold my guitar to teach me responsibility. That guitar was the only thing I'd ever saved up for. Months of mowing lawns and fixing neighbors' Wi-Fi. Gone in a heartbeat because my sister thought parking lots were optional. Ashley didn't get grounded. Not even for a week. She got sympathy, ice cream, and a drive safer next time talk. I got to watch them praise her for learning from her mistakes. I'd love to say that was the worst of it, but that was just another Tuesday in our house. Every little thing, missing money, broken phone chargers, arguments, somehow circled back to me. I was the lazy one, the ungrateful one, the problem child. Mom would throw those words around like confetti, and Dad would nod along like a trained parrot. After a while, I stopped reacting. I'd just nod, clean whatever they told me to, and save my energy. I figured maybe if I stayed quiet long enough, they'd find someone else to blame. But they never did. The night everything changed, it was a few days before my 17th birthday. I was lying in bed, scrolling on my phone, pretending not to hear Ashley bragging in the next room about how she was finally getting her own space soon. I thought it was just her usual bragging, until I heard my door creak open. Mom's voice whispered, "He's asleep." The door clicked shut, and I heard footsteps heading down the hallway. Normally, I'd ignore it. But then I caught a bit of the conversation. Ashley's voice. "I want him gone." I froze. My dad didn't even hesitate. "Then tell him to leave. We'll back you up." My stomach dropped. They didn't argue. They didn't ask what I'd done. They just agreed. Then my mom laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Your room's finally going to be bigger. We can knock the wall down and connect it." I stared at the ceiling for hours that night. Not mad, just done. I wasn't going to beg to stay somewhere I was never wanted. If they wanted me gone, fine. But they were going to find out what happens when the useless one finally stops caring. The next time they blamed me for something I didn't do, it'd be the last time. Turns out that next time came a lot sooner than I thought. I woke up the next morning to the sound of Ashley humming, that fake cheerful tone she used when she was about to do something petty. I got dressed, grabbed my backpack, and walked out to the living room. She was sitting there, scrolling on her phone with a smirk, toast in hand, like she'd been waiting for me. "Morning," I said flatly. She smiled without looking up. "You should start packing." I blinked. "What?" She set her phone down like a lawyer about to win a case. "We decided it's time for you to leave." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe she actually said it out loud. "You decided?" Dad was at the table, drinking coffee, like this was a perfectly normal family breakfast. Mom was next to him, phone in hand, thumbs flying. Neither of them looked at me. You heard your sister, Dad said, not even making eye contact. It's for the best. For who? I asked. Mom finally looked up. Her tone was flat, cold. You were a mistake anyways, so why waste a room on you? That one hit harder than anything else she'd ever said. Not because it was loud or emotional. It was casual. Like she was reading a weather update. Just another fact of life. I didn't argue. What was the point? They'd already made up their minds. I just stared at her for a second, waiting for some sign that this was a joke, but all she did was go back to her phone. Ashley was grinning like she just won a prize. I went to my room and shut the door behind me. My hands were shaking, but my head was clear. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I packed quietly. At the door, I hesitated for a second. I half expected someone to say something. Maybe, don't go too far, or we'll talk later. Nothing. When the door closed behind me, I heard my dad lock it. That was the moment it really hit me. I wasn't coming back. I walked down the street, trying to figure out what to do next. I had no car, no job, and nowhere to stay. The only people who might not slam a door in my face were my grandparents. I pulled out my phone, ordered a ride, and stood on the curb with my backpack at my feet. The driver dropped me off at the corner of my grandparents' street. I paid him, thanked him, and stood there for a minute, staring at their house. It looked exactly the same as always, but standing there felt weird. I hadn't visited much lately. Mom always said Grandma was too soft, and Grandpa too judgmental, which was rich coming from her. I walked up the steps and raised my hand to knock, but hesitated. What if they didn't want me there? What if they called my parents and told them I showed up? Before I could talk myself out of it, I knocked twice. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened, and Grandma stood there in her robe, hair messy, eyes wide. Felix, she said, like she couldn't believe it. I tried to speak, but my throat locked up. She took one look at the backpack and the look on my face, and didn't ask another question. She just opened the door wider. Come in, honey. I stepped inside. What happened? She asked quietly. They kicked me out, I said. Her face went pale. They what? I shrugged like it didn't matter, even though my voice cracked when I spoke. Said I'm useless. Didn't want to waste a room. For a second, she didn't move. Then she pulled me into a hug so tight it almost hurt. You're staying here. End of story. That was the first time in years someone said something about me that actually made sense. And while I stood there trying to figure out if I was supposed to cry or laugh, I realized I wasn't lost. Not really. I'd been erased, sure. But maybe that wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. Because sometimes when people throw you out, they forget they just set you free. That thought stuck with me as I sat at Grandma's kitchen table that night, hands wrapped around a mug of hot tea I didn't even remember accepting. Grandma sat across from me, still in her robe, staring like she couldn't process what I'd said. They really kicked you out? She asked again. I nodded. Yeah, told me I'm useless. Ashley wanted my room. Her face hardened in a way I'd never seen before. Grandma was sweet, the kind of woman who'd bake cookies for the mailman, but right then, she looked ready to march over there with a frying pan. Before she could say anything, a deep voice came from the hallway. What's going on here? Grandpa stepped in, wearing his usual flannel shirt and that look that could silence a room. He didn't raise his voice. He never had to. One look, and you'd rethink every decision you'd ever made. I swallowed. Mom and Dad kicked me out. He didn't even blink. Why? Because Ashley wanted my room. He just stood there for a moment, staring at me like he was waiting for the punchline. When it didn't come, he let out a slow, disappointed breath. Figures. Grandma jumped in, voice trembling with anger, as she told him everything. The lies. The favoritism. I didn't say much. She covered it all. Grandpa sat down at the table, quiet at first, just tapping his fingers on the wood. You know, he said finally, I've been paying their bills for years. Electric, property tax. I looked up, confused. You what? He nodded. They've been struggling since day one. Your father's pride wouldn't let him admit it, so I helped. Figured it was temporary. Guess I was wrong. Grandma folded her arms. He bought them that house when they got married, she said, her voice full of disgust. My head snapped toward her. Wait, you bought it? Grandpa nodded again, slow and deliberate. Every brick of it. They didn't lift a finger. I gave them a start in life, but I kept it in my name. And they repay me by throwing out my grandson. He leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. I always knew something was off with those two. The way they talk about money. The way they spoil that girl like she's royalty. He turned to me. You've been catching the blame for years, haven't you? I didn't even need to answer. He could see it all over my face. He rubbed his chin, thinking, You know, I kept telling your father I didn't raise him to act this way. But he's been hiding behind that wife of his for too long. She's got him thinking cruelty makes him a man. Grandma shook her head. And Ashley's the same way. She learned early that if she cries loud enough, someone else takes the hit. Grandpa's jaw tightened. That ends now. He got up, walked to the counter, and started digging through the drawer where he kept his old papers. After a moment, he pulled out a small piece of paper, folded once, and slid it across the table to me. Alonzo, he said. He's a friend. Lawyer. Handles my business stuff. Call him in the morning. Tell him who you are and what happened. I frowned. What's he gonna do? Grandpa looked at me like it was the dumbest question he'd ever heard. He's gonna fix it. Grandma frowned. Fix it how? He smirked. By reminding them whose name is on that property deed. I stared at the paper. I didn't really understand what he meant, but the way he said it made me believe it was something big. Grandpa sat back down and took a long sip of his coffee. They've been living under my roof. They just forgot it. Time for a wake-up call. For the first time that night, I cracked a smile. You're really gonna kick them out? He shrugged. Seems fair, doesn't it? They wanted you gone. Let's see how they like it. Grandma sighed, half amused, half worried. Frank. He waved a hand. Don't start, Linda. I'm done watching them treat this kid like garbage while living off my money. If they want independence, they're about to get a crash course. He turned back to me. Get some rest. You did nothing wrong. Tomorrow, you make that call. Then you let me handle the rest. Something about the way he said it made me feel like I was part of a team for once. Not the outcast, not the problem. Just someone who finally had backup. I nodded. Thanks, Grandpa. He gave a short grunt, which was his version of, you're welcome. Grandma told me to take the guest room. The bed was softer than I remembered. The sheets smelled like lavender. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, my brain tried to process everything. That my parents didn't own the house. That Grandpa had been paying their bills. That he was actually planning to do something about it. My parents were about to learn that the kid they threw out wasn't as powerless as they thought. And with a guy like my grandpa on my side, they didn't stand a chance. I woke up to the smell of bacon and the sound of Grandpa flipping pancakes like it was just another Tuesday. I sat down at the table and he didn't even look up from the stove. You call Alonzo yet? He asked. Not yet. He turned slightly, one eyebrow raised. Well, what are you waiting for? A written invitation? I smirked, grabbed my phone, and pulled out the small folded paper he'd given me last night. The number was handwritten in Grandpa's sharp, blocky penmanship. I dialed it. It rang twice before a deep voice answered. Alonzo speaking. Hi. My name's Felix. My grandfather told me to call you. Frank Morales. The tone on the other end instantly changed. Frank's grandson. I've heard about you. He said you'd be calling. Go ahead, tell me what happened. So I did. Every detail. From Ashley's lies to the night they kicked me out. I could hear Alonzo muttering under his breath a few times, probably trying to stay professional while fighting the urge to curse. When I finished, there was a short pause. Then he said, All right, kid. First off, that house? It's not theirs. Legally, your grandfather owns it outright. No shared title, no lease, nothing. If he wants them gone, he can... I blinked. You're serious? Completely. I'll handle the paperwork now. He'll just need to make a call to confirm. I thanked him, hung up, and looked at Grandpa. You weren't kidding. You actually own it. He sat down with his coffee, deadpan. I don't joke about money or idiots. Grandma frowned from across the kitchen. Frank, don't sound so pleased. I'm not pleased, he said. I'm efficient. He picked up his phone, scrolled for a second, then put it on speaker. Time for a family meeting. I didn't know what to expect. Yelling, denial, fake apologies. What I got was chaos within 10 seconds. Dad? My father's voice sounded half confused, half annoyed. What's this about? Grandpa's tone was calm, like he was reading off a grocery list. It's time for you to pack your things and leave the house. Silence. Then laughter. My mom's voice chimed in, high-pitched and defensive. You can't be serious. Grandpa took a sip of his coffee. Dead serious. You forgot whose name is on the deed. Let me remind you. It's mine. My dad stammered. You can't just kick us out. We've lived here for years. Grandpa leaned back in his chair. And I paid for every one of those years. The house, the bills, the taxes. You've been tenants without the rent. Consider this your eviction notice. In the background, I could hear Ashley losing it. This is ridiculous. He's lying. Grandpa actually chuckled. Still running your mouth, huh? You sound just like your mother when she's cornered. Dad, please. my mom cut in. You're overreacting. It was just what? Grandpa snapped. Throwing my grandson on the street? You want to call that a misunderstanding? Fine. Call the cops. Tell them the old man you've been mooching off for years is being unfair. The silence that followed was glorious. I couldn't help but grin. Finally, my dad muttered, "You don't mean this." Grandpa gave a short, humorless laugh. You said the same thing when I told you not to marry that woman. You didn't listen then, either. Frank, Mom hissed. You can't talk to us like this. I just did, Grandpa said, and hung up. The room went quiet for a full 10 seconds. Then Grandma exhaled slowly, shaking her head. Frank, you really did it. He took another sip of his coffee, completely calm. Damn right I did. I couldn't stop smiling. For once in my life, someone had actually stood up for me. And not just anyone. Grandpa did it like a boss. No yelling, no drama, just precision strikes. Grandma walked over and hugged me from behind, resting a hand on my shoulder. They made their bed, she said softly. Now they'll lie in it. I nodded, still a bit stunned. You really think they'll leave? Grandpa smirked. Oh, they'll leave. People like your parents don't fight fair. But they don't fight long either. They panic, they scramble, then they blame someone else. And once they run out of people to blame, they run out of options. He leaned back in his chair and looked at me. You remember this, Felix. Weak people don't crumble because they're hated. They crumble because they finally lose control. I sat there, trying to process it. The way he talked, it wasn't cruel, just matter of fact. He'd seen this kind of thing before, and he wasn't about to let it repeat with me. He stood, grabbed his hat from the hook by the door, and said, I'm heading down to Alonzo's office. He'll have the notice ready. By the time the sun sets, your father's going to realize what it feels like to be disposable. Grandma sighed. Frank, do it cleanly. I always do. He walked out the door without another word, leaving me sitting there in quiet awe. A few hours later, he came back whistling and tossed a folder onto the counter. All done. What happens now? I asked. He shrugged. Now we wait. The notice is official. They'll get the call before dinner. Right on cue, the phone rang around 6. Grandpa put it on speaker, and sure enough, it was my dad. Panicked, shaky, voice cracking like he hadn't slept in years. Dad, what's going on? We got this letter. Your time is done, Grandpa said flatly. Dad, come on. Click. He hung up again, calm as ever. Grandma covered her mouth, half shocked, half impressed. You really don't play, do you? Grandpa gave a small smirk and turned to me. They wanted you gone, kid. Now it's their turn. He wasn't kidding. 2 days later, they showed up. All 3 of them, pretending to be calm, like they were there to talk things out. I saw them pull up from the window. Dad in his usual button-up, like he thought it gave him authority. Mom clinging to his arm. Ashley behind them with that smug, I always get what I want look plastered across her face. Showtime, Grandpa muttered, setting his coffee cup down and heading for the door. He opened it before they could even knock. You've got 5 minutes, he said flatly. Mom instantly put on her sad face, the same one she used when she wanted money or pity. Dad, please, we just want to talk. You're talking, he said. Make it quick. They all filed in like they owned the place. I stayed by the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Grandma stood beside me, quiet but watching everything. Dad cleared his throat like he was about to give a presentation. Dad, this has all gotten out of hand. Felix has clearly manipulated you. He's twisted everything to make us look bad. I raised an eyebrow. Manipulated? Yeah, okay. He ignored me and kept talking. He's a teenager, rebellious. He's been disrespectful for years. That's why he left. No one kicked him out. He stormed off. I laughed once, sharp and humorless. You locked the door behind me. Mom jumped in before Grandpa could say anything. He's exaggerating. You know how dramatic kids can be. He's just angry because we held him accountable. Accountable for what? Grandpa asked, voice calm but ice cold. Mom hesitated, eyes darting to Dad, then back to me. For all the lies he's told about us. Ashley finally spoke, her voice dripping with fake confidence. He's jealous, Grandpa. I've always worked hard, and he hates that you see me as successful. Successful, I said. You crashed a car into a store. Her face went pale. Grandpa's eyes narrowed. What car? The room went dead quiet. Grandma stepped forward, her tone steady. Frank, remember my friend Teresa? The one who owns that boutique on 4th Street? Grandpa nodded slowly. She's the one Ashley crashed into, Grandma said, glaring at my parents. Teresa told me the whole story. How you promised to pay for the damage and said Ashley was learning from her mistakes. Mom's mouth dropped open. That's That's not true. Oh, it's true, Grandma cut in. She said you paid everything in cash and told her Ashley would be working off the cost. Only thing is, Teresa never saw Ashley again. Dad tried to regain control. That was years ago, and it's irrelevant. Not really, I interrupted, because I was the one who paid for it. Grandma's head snapped toward me. You what? Yeah, I said quietly. They cut my allowance, sold my guitar, and made me hand over the little cash I had saved. Told me it was my fault for not stopping her. For a second, the whole room froze. Grandma looked horrified. Grandpa just stared at them, expression unreadable. Mom tried to speak, but Grandpa's voice cut through the silence like a blade. You made this boy pay for her mistake? Dad raised his hands. It wasn't like that. Oh, really? Grandpa snapped. Because it sounds exactly like that. You two let that girl run wild and punish the one kid who actually had a conscience. Ashley huffed. This is ridiculous. You're all taking his side because he plays victim. Victim, I said. You've been stealing my stuff since we were kids and blaming me for everything you broke. You've been playing innocent so long you started believing it. She looked at me with pure hate. You always make yourself sound like a saint. You're pathetic. Grandpa's eyes shifted to her, calm but sharp enough to make her flinch. Careful how you talk in my house, young lady. I've tolerated enough of your mouth. Dad stepped forward. Look, Dad, you're being manipulated. Don't, Grandpa said, standing up. You've lied, mooched, and twisted everything you could to keep yourselves comfortable. You used my money, my house, and my patience. That ends right now. Mom's fake calm cracked. You can't just throw us out. Where are we supposed to go? Not my problem, he said. You had no issue throwing out your own son with nowhere to go, remember? Her face turned red, but Grandpa wasn't done. You have 1 month to leave that house. After that, I call the police. And don't think I won't. I've got every legal right. You wouldn't, Dad started, but Grandpa just looked at him, and the sentence died midair. Grandma stepped forward, voice softer but firm. You both should be ashamed. I watched that boy grow up trying to earn your approval while you tore him down. And Ashley? She turned her eyes to her granddaughter. You're not special, sweetheart. You're just used to never facing consequences. Ashley opened her mouth to argue, but Grandma raised a hand. Not another word. Dad looked like he wanted to yell, but Mom tugged his sleeve. Let's go, she whispered, eyes wide. They backed out of the house slowly, like people leaving a courtroom after a bad verdict. Ashley glared at me on her way out. You'll regret this. I smirked. Doubt it. Grandpa shut the door behind them and locked it. The silence after they left felt heavy but good, like fresh air after being stuck in a smoke-filled room. Grandma turned to me, her face softening. You did good, Felix. You told the truth. Grandpa looked at me, pride hidden behind that usual tough expression. They think lying's a game. Let's see how they handle losing. I finally let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. For the first time in my life, someone actually believed me. And not just anyone. 2 people who mattered. That night, I didn't just feel safe. I felt seen. For once, I wasn't the outcast in someone else's story. I was part of a family that actually stood up for me. But I should have known my parents wouldn't go down quietly. The next morning started out calm. Grandpa was outside trimming the hedges. Grandma was baking, and I was helping her set the table. Then the phone rang. She wiped her hands on a towel and answered. Her face shifted fast. Confusion first, then irritation. What do you mean missing? She said. Grandpa turned, raising an eyebrow. She covered the receiver. It's the police. They say your parents reported you missing. Turns out they'd filed that report earlier in the week, before showing up here pretending everything was fine. Guess they thought it'd make them look innocent once people found out I was gone. I blinked. What? Grandpa walked over and took the phone. This is Frank Morales, he said, voice sharp. You're telling me my grandson, who's been eating pancakes at my table for 3 days, is missing? He listened for a moment, then his tone dropped to that dangerous calm he had. Let me make this perfectly clear. My son and his wife kicked this boy out with nothing. He came here on his own. You can close your file before you embarrass yourself further. He hung up without another word. Grandma sighed. They're just trying to make themselves look innocent. Or cover their tracks, Grandpa muttered. Desperate people do stupid things. He wasn't wrong. CPS wasn't involved. Since I was already with blood relatives, the officer just confirmed I was safe and left it at that. Guess that didn't fit my parents' missing child narrative. That night, everything went from peaceful to chaos. It was close to midnight when I heard a soft click from downstairs. I figured it was the old heating system, until I heard the floor creak. Slow, deliberate footsteps. I slipped out of bed and opened my door quietly. Down the hall, Grandpa's light was off, but I could hear faint movement. Then, from the stairwell, a shadow moved. Tall, broad shoulders. I whispered, "Grandpa." He was already awake. He opened his door, holding a small pistol at his side, eyes sharp but calm. "Stay behind me," he said. We moved down the hallway slowly. Then we saw him. My dad was halfway up the stairs, trying to move quietly, but every step betrayed him. "Don't move," Grandpa said, voice steady. Dad froze mid-step, hand on the railing. "Dad, it's me. I just came to talk." "Through the back door?" Grandpa asked. "You break into my house in the middle of the night and you want to talk?" Mom's voice came from downstairs. "Please, Dad, we just need to explain." "Explain what?" Grandpa snapped. "How you lied to the police? How you used your own kid to clean up your mess? You're lucky I don't call them myself right now." Dad raised his hands. "Let's calm down. There's no need for threats." Grandpa didn't move the gun, but his voice stayed even. "You have 10 seconds to get out." Dad took one slow step down, pretending to comply. Okay, I'll leave." He turned slightly, glancing over his shoulder. Grandpa lowered the gun a bit, probably thinking he'd finally backed off. But the second Grandpa turned to check on Grandma, Dad lunged forward, fast, shoving hard toward him. "Grandpa!" I shouted. Grandpa stumbled, foot slipping on the edge of the stair. I grabbed Dad by the shoulder and yanked him backward, slamming him against the wall. He tried to push past me, shouting, "Stay out of this!" "The hell I will!" I yelled back, shoving him again. Grandma came running out of her room, eyes wide. She saw Dad reaching out toward Grandpa again and didn't hesitate. She grabbed the house phone and started dialing. "I'm calling the police!" "Mom, don't!" Dad barked, but she was already speaking into the receiver. "My son just tried to push my husband down the stairs." Dad froze. For a second, the whole house went silent except for Grandma's voice. Grandpa straightened up, his hand gripping the railing tight. His face wasn't angry, just broken. "My own son," he muttered under his breath. "You really would have let me fall." Dad's voice cracked. "Dad, I didn't mean—" "Save it," Grandpa said coldly. "You've been taking from me for years, but I didn't think you'd try to take me out." Dad was crying now, hands shaking. Hands. "Please, this is a misunderstanding." Grandma pointed toward the small black device mounted by bedroom the door. "No, it's not. The cameras caught everything. That shut everyone up." Grandpa had installed security cameras years ago after a break-in scare. Every angle of that hallway, including the stairs, was recorded. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. 2 officers came in, calm but firm. Grandpa showed them the footage on his phone while Grandma explained what happened. Dad kept insisting it was an accident, but the video didn't lie. The moment Grandpa turned, Dad's hands shot forward, pushing hard. If I hadn't been there, Grandpa would have gone straight down. The officers handcuffed him without another word. As they led Dad out, Grandpa stood there, staring at the floor. He didn't say a word until the front door shut. Then he sank into his chair, running a hand over his face. "I raised that man," he said quietly. "Worked 2 jobs to give him everything, and this is what he does." Grandma put a hand on his shoulder. "Frank, don't." He made his choices. He nodded slowly but didn't look up. "Yeah, and now he's going to live with them." I sat beside him, not saying anything. What could I even say? There was no fixing what just happened. When the police car finally drove off, Grandma closed the door and locked it. Double this time. The house felt heavy, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was the weight of truth. Grandpa looked at me finally, eyes tired but proud. "You saved my life, kid." I shrugged. "Guess we're even." He cracked a small smile, the first one since the cops showed up. When I went to bed, I checked the hallway camera feed one more time. Dad's face froze on screen, mid-lunge, like a reminder of what greed does to people. I turned off the phone, lay back, and whispered to myself, "Not my problem anymore." Outside, the sirens faded into the night, leaving behind something better. Peace. Dad was taken into custody that night. The officers told Grandpa he'd be facing charges for attempted assault and trespassing, and once they reviewed the footage, there'd be no talking his way out of it. Grandpa just nodded, didn't say much. The next morning, we found out he was still in holding, and his lawyer was already trying to downplay it as a misunderstanding. "Yeah, good luck spinning caught on camera trying to shove your father down a flight of stairs." Mom called 2 days later, crying into the phone like she was the victim. "Dad, please," she said through the speaker. "He's sorry. You know how emotional he gets." Grandpa leaned back in his chair, face blank. "So emotional he almost killed me?" "Yeah, I noticed." She tried again. We're family. Can't we just move past this? Move past it? He let out a low laugh that didn't sound amused. You should have thought of that before you backed him up. Ashley grabbed the phone from her, yelling loud enough that I could hear it across the kitchen. You're ruining our lives. You can't just cut us off over one mistake. Grandpa didn't even flinch. One mistake? You raised hell for years, stole, lied, kicked out my grandson. Then your father tried to push me down a staircase. That's not one mistake. That's a pattern. She screamed something about how I ruined everything, and Grandpa hung up mid-sentence. He stared at the phone for a second and then said, "That's the last time I'm answering their calls." And he meant it. After the arrest, Mom and Ashley tried to deny everything. They told everyone they could that Grandpa overreacted and that I made things up. But once the footage was part of the police case file and a few people saw it, their story fell apart faster than their bank account. Grandpa had always been covering their bills, electricity, insurance, the whole package. Once that stopped, reality hit them like a freight train. The house wasn't theirs. The cars weren't fully paid off. Within a month, they were evicted. They ended up in a small apartment across town, barely keeping up with rent. Ashley posted online about downsizing for personal growth. Sure, nothing says growth like getting kicked out of a house you never owned. Meanwhile, Grandpa quietly started moving paperwork around. One afternoon, he sat me down at the kitchen table. He had a stack of folders and that no-nonsense look that meant something big was coming. "This is the will," he said simply. "I've updated everything. The house, the land, the savings, all yours when we're gone." I blinked. Wait, what? He shrugged like he was talking about the weather. "You earned it. You didn't quit on yourself, even when they tried to break you. You're the only one who deserves this place." Grandma smiled from the counter. "He's right. You've been helping us every day since you got here. Cleaning, fixing things, even cooking when I'm tired. You've brought peace back into this house, Felix." I didn't know what to say. I just nodded, trying to act cool. But inside, I felt like a dam had cracked open. For the first time in years, I wasn't fighting to prove I belonged. I already did. A few weeks later, Dad got sentenced to probation and mandatory counseling. Grandpa didn't attend the hearing. He said, "I'm done watching that man make bad decisions." Mom tried sending letters after that, saying she missed the family, but they all went unopened into the shredder. Ashley, last I heard, tried to get a job at some boutique, poetic considering her history with shop windows, but didn't last a month. They eventually stopped calling. Grandpa and Grandma never brought them up again. One quiet evening, months after everything settled, Grandpa handed me a small set of keys. We were sitting on the porch, the sun dipping low, the air warm and still. He placed them in my hand and said, "You belong here, kid. This is your home now." I didn't respond right away. I just looked at the keys. Silver, heavy, real, and felt this weird calm wash over me. After years of being treated like I didn't matter, I finally had something solid, something no one could take or twist. Grandma came out with 2 mugs of tea, smiling. "You look like a man who finally exhaled." "Yeah," I said, laughing softly. "Feels weird." Grandpa chuckled. "Peace always does. You spend so long fighting for it, you forget how to live in it." He was right. Peace felt strange after a lifetime of chaos. Quiet, steady, honest. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. For once, I wasn't the kid trying to survive his family. I was the man building a new one. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. My gold digger sister tried to steal my dead wife's inheritance. I destroyed her life, and now she is begging. Using a throwaway because this story involves family, and I don't want it traced back to my main account. Also, some people might think I went too far, but honestly, I don't care anymore. Background: I 38 male, my sister is 35 female, and this happened about 8 months ago. It's a long story, but stick with me. The ending is absolutely worth it. Some of you might think my revenge was excessive, but after you hear what she did, I think you'll understand why I had to go nuclear. TLDR at the bottom, but seriously, read the whole thing. This woman got exactly what she deserved. Let me start by giving you some background on my family dynamics, because it's important to understand how we got here. My name is Derek, obviously fake, and I work as a senior financial analyst for a major investment firm in Dallas. I make around $165,000 a year, which isn't billionaire money, but it's pretty solid for Texas. I wasn't always successful, though. Growing up, our family struggled financially after my dad left when I was 12. Mom worked 2 jobs just to keep us afloat. My sister Brittany is 3 years younger than me, and from day one she believed the world owed her everything. While I was studying my rear end off and working part-time jobs throughout high school, she was focused entirely on her appearance and finding guys to pay for her lifestyle. I'm talking about a girl who would throw tantrums if she didn't get designer clothes for her birthday, while mom was choosing between groceries and the electric bill. After high school, I got a partial scholarship to the University of Texas for finance and economics. I worked nights at a call center to pay for what the scholarship didn't cover, graduated with honors, and landed an entry-level position at an investment firm. Worked my way up over 15 years to where I am now. Brittany? She lasted exactly one semester at community college before dropping out to become an influencer. By influencer, I mean she posted photos on Instagram for her 1,800 followers while cycling through different wealthy guys who would pay her bills for a few months before getting tired of her act. The contrast between our lives drove her absolutely insane. Here I was, the boring numbers guy, according to her, making six figures while she was still living with mom and relying on whatever sucker she was dating that month. Then I met Sarah, and everything changed for the better. Sarah was a nurse practitioner at Presbyterian Hospital. Smart, beautiful, hardworking, and somehow she saw something in my awkward financial analyst personality. We met at a coffee shop near the hospital. I was there reviewing client portfolios. She was studying for a certification exam. We started talking about healthcare economics, and one thing led to another. We dated for 2 years before I proposed with a ring that cost me 3 months' salary. Sarah was worth every penny. Brittany despised Sarah from their first meeting, mainly because Sarah saw right through her gold digger routine and refused to pretend otherwise. While everyone else in our family walked on eggshells around Brittany's mood swings and financial demands, Sarah treated her like the spoiled adult child she was. After our wedding, Sarah and I bought a house in Plano for $620,000. Sarah's father, who was a retired cardiologist, helped with the down payment as a wedding gift. The house was Sarah's dream. 4 bedrooms, gourmet kitchen, swimming pool in the backyard. We were planning to fill those extra bedrooms with children someday. Brittany made snide comments about our house constantly. "Must be nice having daddy pay for everything," she'd say to Sarah whenever the house came up in conversation. Never mind that I was making the mortgage payments and Sarah was working 50-hour weeks saving lives. In Brittany's twisted worldview, any success that wasn't hers was somehow unfair or undeserved. The tension got so bad that Sarah and I started declining family events if we knew Brittany would be there. Our lives were simply more peaceful, without her constant drama and passive-aggressive comments about our privileged lifestyle. Everything was perfect for 3 years. Sarah and I were trying for kids, planning vacations, building the life we'd always dreamed of. Then our world ended on a Thursday night in February. Sarah was driving home from a late shift at the hospital. The roads were clear, weather was fine. She was being completely responsible like always. Some idiot teenager was texting while driving and ran a red light at 45 miles per hour, T-boning Sarah's car on the driver's side. Sarah died instantly. The teenager walked away with minor scratches. At 36 years old, I became a widower. The first few weeks after Sarah's funeral were a complete blur. I took extended leave from work and basically became a hermit in our house. Sarah's parents were destroyed. She was their only child, and they'd already lost her mother to cancer 5 years earlier. My mom tried to help, but she was dealing with her own grief and honestly didn't know how to handle the situation. Brittany, however, was strange from the very beginning. She showed up to the funeral wearing a tight black dress that was completely inappropriate for the occasion. She spent most of the service taking selfies to remember Sarah and kept talking about how everything happens for a reason, and Sarah's in a better place now. The day after the funeral, she came to my house uninvited with a casserole and immediately started talking about how I probably should sell this big house since it's just you now. When I told her I wasn't ready to make any major decisions, she got this calculating look in her eyes that should have been a massive red flag. Over the next month, Brittany kept bringing up money in every conversation. How was I handling the mortgage payments alone? Did Sarah have life insurance through the hospital? What was I planning to do with all of Sarah's jewelry and personal belongings? Every single conversation somehow circled back to my financial situation, which should have been obvious. But I was too messed up with grief to think clearly. The truth was, money wasn't really an issue for me. Sarah and I both carried substantial life insurance policies through our employers. Between that payout, our savings account, and the fact that the teenager's insurance company was going to pay a significant wrongful death settlement to avoid a lengthy court battle, I was actually in better financial shape than I'd ever been in my life. Of course, no amount of money could bring Sarah back, which made the whole thing feel meaningless. But I kept this financial information completely to myself. Years of working in finance had taught me that people act very differently when they know you have money, and I wasn't in the right headspace to deal with that kind of attention. About 6 weeks after Sarah passed away, Brittany started mentioning her own financial problems during our conversations. Her latest sugar daddy had dumped her. She was behind on her apartment rent, her car payments were overdue, and she'd maxed out her credit cards. She'd already hit up mom for money, but mom was barely surviving on her social security checks. "I just need a small loan," she'd say during our phone calls. "Like $4,000 to get caught up on everything. I'll pay you back as soon as I find steady work." The thing is, Brittany had never held a legitimate job for more than a few months in her entire adult life. Her idea of finding steady work meant finding another wealthy guy to support her lifestyle. I told her I couldn't help right now, because I was dealing with my own situation and wasn't thinking clearly about money. That's when she started getting nasty with me. "You're being so selfish, Derek. Sarah's gone and you need to accept that reality and move on with your life. You obviously have money now and you won't even help your own sister who's struggling." Wait, obviously have money? I hadn't told anyone about the insurance payouts or the pending settlement. "I'm not stupid," she continued. "Sarah's dad is loaded. She was making good money as a nurse practitioner. You guys obviously had life insurance policies. Plus, there's going to be a huge settlement from that teenager's insurance company. You're probably sitting on $500,000. The fact that she had calculated all of this while I was barely functioning day to day really bothered me. But instead of confronting her about it, I just told her I didn't want to discuss money and asked her to drop the subject. Big mistake. I should have seen what was coming next. 2 months after Sarah's death, it was my mom's 65th birthday. I absolutely did not want to attend any kind of family gathering, but mom had been through enough watching me grieve, and I didn't want to disappoint her on her special day. The party was at mom's small apartment, just immediate family. Me, mom, Brittany, and a couple of aunts and uncles I rarely saw anymore. I brought an expensive bottle of sparkling cider and a gift card to mom's favorite restaurant, trying my best to act normal, even though I felt terrible inside. Everything seemed relatively normal at first. We had dinner, birthday cake, opened presents. I was actually starting to relax for the first time in months, thinking maybe I could handle family gatherings again. Then, Brittany stood up and announced she had something important to share with everyone. "Before we finish celebrating, I have something serious that Marcus needs to know," she said, pulling out her smartphone. "It's about Sarah." My blood went completely cold. What was she planning to do? "I've been going through some of Sarah's old social media posts and messages," Brittany continued, "and I discovered something that Derek deserves to know about. Sarah was having an affair." The entire room went dead silent. I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. "That's complete nonsense and you know it," I said firmly. "I have proof right here," she replied, holding up her phone. Screenshots of text messages between Sarah and her supervisor from the hospital. They were planning to meet up at hotels, talking about how unhappy they were in their marriages, making plans to leave their spouses. She started reading these supposedly intimate text messages between Sarah and some hospital administrator I'd never heard of. According to Brittany's evidence, Sarah had been cheating for months and was planning to divorce me to be with this other man. Everyone was staring at me, waiting for my reaction. My aunts looked shocked and horrified. My mom looked like she was about to cry. My uncle was shaking his head in disbelief. "Let me see that phone," I demanded. Brittany clutched it against her chest protectively. "I know this is hard to hear, but you deserve to know the truth about who Sarah really was." I stood up, probably looking like I was ready to commit violence. "Give me the phone, Brittany." "Derek, please calm down," she said in this fake, concerned voice. "I know you're upset, but getting angry at me won't change what Sarah did to you." That's when everything clicked into place. This wasn't about exposing some affair that never happened. This was about something else entirely. Brittany had spent weeks fishing for information about my financial situation, and now she was trying to destroy Sarah's memory and reputation. But why would she do something so horrible? "What do you want?" I asked directly. She looked confused and innocent. "What do you mean?" "Cut the act. You didn't just randomly discover these messages. You want something from me. What is it?" Brittany glanced around the room at our family members, then back at me with crocodile tears in her eyes. "Well, since you asked, I think it's only fair that some of Sarah's life insurance money should go to the people she hurt with her lies and betrayal." "The people she hurt?" "Our family, especially Mom. Think about how much emotional stress Sarah's deception has caused all of us. Mom deserves some kind of compensation for the pain and suffering." I almost started laughing at the absurdity. "You want me to give Mom money because of your made-up affair story?" "It's not made up," Brittany snapped, dropping her fake sympathy act. And I think $80,000 would be appropriate compensation for what our family has endured because of Sarah's betrayal. There it was. She had invented this elaborate lie about Sarah cheating to justify demanding money from me. Not asking for a loan this time, making an actual demand for cash based on complete fiction. Those messages are fake, I said quietly. Prove it, she challenged me. I don't have to prove anything. Sarah's dead, you idiot. You. Even if she had been cheating, which she absolutely wasn't, that doesn't entitle you to a single penny. The room erupted in chaos. My aunt started chiming in about how I should hear Brittany out and consider what's best for the family. My mom was crying, saying she didn't want any money. She just wanted us to stop fighting on her birthday. I looked around at these people, my own family, and realized they were actually considering the possibility that Sarah might have been unfaithful based on some obviously fake screenshots that Brittany had probably created in 5 minutes. None of them were questioning her story or wondering why she'd waited 2 months to bring this up. That's when I decided to really mess with her head. You know what, Brittany? You might be right about Sarah. I've been in denial, but looking back, there were some suspicious signs that I ignored. Her eyes lit up with greed and fake sympathy. I'm so sorry you had to find out this way, Derek. I know it's painful, but you deserve the truth. Yeah, and you're probably right about the money situation too. It wouldn't be fair for me to keep all of her life insurance when she was planning to leave me anyway. Exactly, Brittany said, unable to hide her excitement anymore. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll give you that $80,000 you mentioned. But first, I want you to post those screenshots on your social media accounts. Sarah's family and all her coworkers should know what kind of person she really was, don't you think? Brittany's face went pale. I don't think that's really necessary. Oh, but it absolutely is necessary. If Sarah was really an unfaithful person like you're claiming, then everyone should know about it. Post the screenshots on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Tag her parents and her hospital colleagues. Let everyone see your evidence. Derek, that seems pretty harsh. Harsh? You just told our entire family that my dead wife was a cheater and demanded money based on that accusation. If you really believe what you're saying, then you should have no problem sharing the proof publicly. Unless ... I let the word hang in the air. Unless what? She asked weakly. Unless you made the whole thing up to scam money out of me. The room was completely silent again. Everyone was looking at Brittany, waiting for her to agree to post the screenshots publicly. She was trapped and she knew it. Maybe we should just keep this private for Sarah's memory and her family. No, I said, standing up. I think I'll pass on the whole arrangement. Thanks for the birthday dinner, Mom. I'm going home now. I walked out, leaving Brittany stammering excuses about why she suddenly didn't want to share her evidence with the world. But I wasn't finished with her. Not even close. The drive home from Mom's birthday party was when I made the decision to completely destroy Brittany's life. Not just refuse her money, actually ruin her entire existence. She had tried to trash Sarah's memory for cash, and that was absolutely unforgivable. Here's the thing about working in finance. We're naturally paranoid, and we document everything meticulously. I'd been keeping records of Brittany's nonsense for years, mostly just to vent my frustrations to Sarah about whatever drama Brittany was causing that week. That night, I pulled out my laptop and started going through everything I had collected about my sister over the years. Text messages, emails, social media screenshots, financial records I'd helped her with in the past when she begged for budgeting advice. The picture that emerged was of someone who wasn't just entitled and manipulative, but genuinely unstable and potentially criminal. Some highlights from my Brittany documentation files: screenshots of her bragging on Instagram about getting rent money from different guys without even sleeping with them. Text messages where she admitted to lying about birth control to try to trap a wealthy ex-boyfriend into marriage. It didn't work, and he paid for the termination. Records of her stealing money from Mom's purse during Christmas visits over the past 3 years. Photos she'd posted then quickly deleted of herself wearing jewelry that mysteriously went missing from our aunt's house. Screenshots of her selling counterfeit designer purses on Facebook Marketplace. Evidence that she'd been claiming unemployment benefits while working under-the-table jobs at various establishments. But the real treasure trove was her recent activity. Remember how she'd been asking detailed questions about my financial situation? It turns out she'd been doing much more than just asking innocent questions. A few days after the birthday party disaster, I received a call from my bank about some unusual account activity. Apparently, someone had called claiming to be me and asking about my account balances and recent transactions. They didn't provide any information because the caller couldn't answer basic security questions, but the bank flagged it as suspicious and wanted to make me aware. The caller ID number they provided? Brittany's cell phone. I also discovered that she'd been calling Sarah's life insurance company, claiming to be Sarah's sister-in-law, and asking about beneficiary information and payout schedules. Again, she didn't get any information because she wasn't authorized, but the fact that she had attempted it told me everything I needed to know about her intentions. This woman wasn't just asking for money. She was actively investigating my finances and trying to figure out exactly how much she could potentially steal from me. So I decided to help her with that research project. I spent the next evening creating a completely fake financial portfolio document showing that I was worth approximately $2.6 million between life insurance payouts, the wrongful death settlement, investment accounts, and property equity. I made it look like an official document from my financial advisor, complete with letterhead, account numbers, and professional formatting. Then I set up a meeting with Brittany to apologize for how I'd reacted at Mom's birthday party. A few days later, I called Brittany and asked if she wanted to meet for coffee. I used my most sincere, grieving widower voice and told her I'd been thinking about what she'd said at Mom's party and that maybe I had been too defensive and unreasonable. She agreed immediately, of course. She could smell money from a mile away. We met at a coffee shop near her apartment. She showed up wearing a brand new outfit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, clearly financed by whatever new sucker she'd found, and immediately launched into her fake sympathy routine. "I'm so glad you called, Derek. I've been really worried about you. I know the truth about Sarah is difficult to accept, but it's better that you know what really happened." I nodded along, playing my part perfectly. "You're absolutely right. I've been in denial about a lot of things. Sarah, money, family responsibilities. I need to start making better decisions." "That's so mature of you," she said, practically vibrating with anticipation. "Actually, I wanted to show you something. I met with my financial advisor yesterday to get my affairs organized and plan for the future." I pulled out the fake portfolio I'd created and slid it across the table. Brittany's eyes went wide as she scanned the numbers. "Holy cow, Derek! You're worth almost $3 million? "Keep your voice down," I said, glancing around nervously. "I don't want random people knowing about this." She was staring at the documents like they were made of pure gold. "I had no idea the settlement was going to be this substantial. Most of it is from the wrongful death payout. The teenager's insurance company is paying $1.7 million to avoid going to trial. Plus Sarah's life insurance, my existing savings, the house equity, my 401k. "This is incredible," she whispered. "You could do absolutely anything. Travel the world, buy a mansion, invest in businesses, whatever you want." "Yeah, but I've been thinking about what you said at Mom's party, about family obligations, about how Sarah's betrayal affected everyone. Maybe I should be sharing some of this wealth." Brittany tried to play it cool, but I could see the greed practically radiating from her eyes. "I mean, I wasn't trying to pressure you or anything, but it would be wonderful if Mom could retire comfortably, you know?" "Absolutely. I was thinking about giving her around $150,000. And maybe something for you too, since you were brave enough to tell me the truth about Sarah when everyone else was protecting me from it." "Really?" She was practically drooling at this point. "Sure. Maybe $120,000. I know you've been struggling financially, and family should help family when they can." Brittany's mask completely slipped away. She wasn't even pretending to be sympathetic anymore, just calculating how she was going to spend her windfall. "That would completely change my life, Derek. I could pay off all my debts, get a reliable car, maybe put a down payment on a nice condo." "Yeah, well, you deserve it for looking out for me," I said. "There's just one small thing I need from you first." "Anything," she said immediately. "I need you to help me go through Sarah's personal belongings. There might be some things I need to find, documents, maybe some additional evidence of the affair. I want to make sure I have everything organized before I finalize all the insurance claims." "Of course. When do you want to do this?" "This weekend? You could come over Saturday morning and we'll go through her closet, her desk, all her personal stuff. It would be much easier having someone else there for emotional support." We arranged the time, and I walked her to her car. As she was getting in, she grabbed my arm with fake sincerity. "Derek, I just want you to know how proud I am of you for handling this so maturely. Sarah didn't deserve someone as good as you." I smiled and nodded, watching her drive away in her beat-up Honda that was probably going to be repossessed within the month. Saturday morning couldn't come fast enough. Saturday morning, Brittany arrived at my house exactly on time, carrying a coffee and wearing latex gloves like she was about to perform some kind of surgical procedure. "I brought gloves so we don't contaminate any potential evidence," she said with complete seriousness. Evidence of an affair that never happened. The audacity was truly impressive. "Good thinking," I replied. Sarah's home office is upstairs. I haven't been able to go through it yet because it's too emotional. We went upstairs to what used to be Sarah's workspace. She would do paperwork there, study for medical certifications, video call with her nursing school friends. I'd barely entered the room since she died, because it still smelled like her perfume, and had all her personal items exactly where she'd left them. "Where should we start looking?" Brittany asked, eyeing Sarah's desk like it might contain buried treasure. "Maybe her computer? She might have saved messages or emails there that would give us more information." Brittany practically lunged for the laptop. "Do you know her password?" "Yeah, she used our wedding anniversary date for everything." I logged into Sarah's computer and opened her email program. Brittany leaned over my shoulder, breathing down my neck as she scanned through months of boring medical correspondence, messages with friends, and work-related communications. "Nothing suspicious here," she muttered after several minutes. "What about her text messages?" "I don't think they sync to the computer automatically. Her phone was completely destroyed in the accident." Brittany looked disappointed. "What about physical evidence? Love letters, hotel receipts, anything like that? Maybe check her desk drawers and filing cabinet?" For the next hour and a half, I watched my sister tear through Sarah's personal belongings like a burglar searching for valuables. She went through every drawer, every folder, every box. She even checked behind picture frames looking for hidden notes or documents. It was absolutely disgusting watching her paw through Sarah's private things, but I needed to let her dig her own grave deeper. "I'm not finding anything," she finally said, clearly frustrated. "Are you absolutely sure she was having an affair?" "Well, you showed me those text messages at Mom's party. I assumed there would be additional evidence." "Right, the messages." Brittany looked uncomfortable suddenly. Maybe she deleted everything else to cover her tracks. "Can I see those screenshots again? I want to examine them more carefully now that I'm thinking clearer." "I don't have them with me right now." "But they're saved on your phone, right?" "Actually, I think I accidentally deleted them when I was clearing up storage space last week." I stared at her in disbelief. "You deleted the only evidence of my wife's affair?" "It was a complete accident." "But Derek, you admitted yourself that you suspected she was cheating." "Maybe we don't need the messages to know it's true." This was absolutely perfect. She was admitting she had no evidence while still trying to maintain her ridiculous lie. "Brittany, can I ask you something directly?" "Sure, anything. If you don't actually have any proof that Sarah was cheating, why did you tell our entire family that she was?" The color drained completely from her face. What do you mean?" "I had proof. I just accidentally lost it." "You had screenshots that you conveniently deleted of messages between Sarah and some hospital administrator I've never heard of about an affair you have no other evidence for whatsoever." "Derek, where are you going with this?" I pulled out my phone and opened the voice recording app. "I'm going to ask you one direct question, and I want you to tell me the complete truth. Did Sarah actually have an affair, or did you make that story up to try to get money from me?" Brittany's eyes darted around the room like she was looking for an escape route. "Why are you recording this conversation? Just answer the question honestly." Look, Derek, even if the affair thing wasn't exactly accurate, Sarah wasn't a perfect person. She was always rude to me, always trying to turn you against your own family. Maybe she deserved to have her reputation questioned a little bit." "So you admit you made the whole thing up?" "I didn't make anything up. I just interpreted some situations differently than you might have." "What situations? What exactly did you interpret?" She was completely backed into a corner and she knew it. "Fine, maybe there wasn't actually an affair. But that doesn't change the fact that you have all this money now and I'm struggling to survive. Family should help family." "There it is," I said, stopping the recording. "You slandered my dead wife to try to guilt me into giving you money." "Derek, please, you don't understand how desperate my situation is. I'm about to lose my apartment, my car, everything. I just need help." "You need help? Let me help you understand something important." I pulled out another folder I'd prepared earlier, this one containing all the evidence I'd compiled of her various scams and fraudulent activities over the years. "This is a comprehensive record of every lie you've told, every person you've stolen from, every scam you've attempted to run, including your recent attempts to access my bank accounts and call Sarah's insurance company pretending to be family." Her face went completely white. "How did you—" "I work in finance, Brittany. I know how to track financial records and digital footprints. Did you really think you could call my bank from your own phone number and they wouldn't keep a record of it?" "I can explain that." "Explain what? How you've been researching my finances for months? How you made up a story about Sarah cheating to justify stealing from me? How you've been planning this entire scam since the day she died?" Brittany started crying. Not the manipulative tears she usually used to get out of trouble, but genuine panic tears. "Please, Derek, I'm sorry. I was desperate, and I didn't know what else to do. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You didn't mean to hurt anyone? You tried to destroy the memory of my dead wife for money. I'll make it right, I promise. I'll tell everyone I was wrong about Sarah. I'll apologize to the whole family. Oh, you're going to do much more than that. Here's exactly what's going to happen, I told Brittany, as she sat crying in Sarah's office chair. You're going to face real consequences for your actions. Serious, life-changing consequences. What do you mean? She asked through her tears. I pulled out copies of everything I'd compiled. Bank records showing her fraudulent unemployment claims, evidence of her stealing from family members, screenshots of her various online scams, and documentation of her attempts to access my financial information illegally. First, I'm sending all of this information to the state unemployment office. You've been collecting benefits while working cash jobs for over a year. That's fraud, and they take it very seriously. Derek, no, please don't. Second, I'm filing police reports for identity theft and attempted fraud based on your calls to my bank and Sarah's insurance company. I never actually stole your identity. You impersonated me to try to access my financial information. That's a felony offense. Brittany was hyperventilating at this point. You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. My sister? My sister wouldn't have tried to destroy my dead wife's reputation for money. I continued laying out her punishment systematically. Third, I'm sending evidence of your theft from Mom and our aunt to them, along with documentation of everything you've stolen over the years. They'll never believe you over me. Really? Because I have security camera footage from Mom's apartment building showing you going through her purse during our Christmas visit, and our aunt has been wondering about her missing jewelry for months. The reality of her situation was finally sinking in completely. What do you want from me? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. For too long, our family has been enabling your behavior, making excuses for you, bailing you out every time you mess up. That ends today. But I'll go to jail. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to commit multiple felonies. Brittany literally got down on her knees begging, "Please, Derek, I'll do anything you want. I'll pay you back somehow. I'll never ask for money again. I'll leave town. Whatever you want me to do. It's too late for bargaining now." No, it's not. Please, I have nowhere else to go. Mom can't afford to help me anymore. I don't have any real friends, no boyfriend. If you do this, I'll have absolutely nothing. You already have nothing. You just didn't realize it yet. I started walking toward the door. Oh, and Brittany? That financial portfolio I showed you? Completely fake. I'm not worth anywhere near $3 million. Her face went from desperation to pure rage. You lying piece of garbage! You set me up! Yeah, I did. And you fell for it. Because you're a greedy, stupid person who thought you could steal from your grieving brother. I'll tell everyone what you did. I'll tell them you made up those financial documents. Go ahead. Tell them I tricked you into admitting you made up a story about Sarah cheating. Tell them I caught you trying to steal from me. See how much sympathy you get. I left her crying in Sarah's office and went downstairs to wait for the police to arrive. I'd called them before she came over that morning, telling them I had evidence of someone attempting to commit fraud against me. 20 minutes later, 2 officers showed up at my door. I gave them copies of everything. The bank records, the unemployment fraud evidence, recordings of Brittany's confession, documentation of her attempts to access my financial accounts illegally. This is pretty comprehensive evidence, one of the officers said after reviewing everything. How long has this fraudulent activity been going on? Years for the small stuff, but the financial crime started right after my wife died. They went upstairs and found Brittany still sitting in Sarah's office, staring at the wall like she was in complete shock. Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions about attempted fraud and identity theft. Watching them escort her out of my house in handcuffs was the most satisfying moment I'd experienced since Sarah died. But I wasn't finished destroying her life yet. Over the next week, I systematically dismantled what remained of Brittany's existence. The unemployment fraud investigation moved incredibly fast. They suspended her benefits immediately and started proceedings to recover the money she'd fraudulently collected over the past year. The state doesn't mess around with benefit fraud. I sent comprehensive evidence of her various thefts to every family member she'd victimized. Mom was devastated, but finally admitted she'd been enabling Brittany's behavior for decades. Our aunt decided to press charges for the stolen jewelry. I also contacted every guy Brittany had scammed over the years, and there were quite a few of them. I found their contact information through her social media accounts and sent them detailed evidence of her lies and manipulations. Several of them decided to pursue legal action for fraud. The best part? I created a public Facebook page dedicated to exposing scammers in our area. I posted her name, photo, and complete criminal history, all easily searchable on Google. Good luck finding new victims when a simple internet search shows exactly what kind of person you really are. Within 2 weeks, Brittany was facing multiple criminal charges, had no income source, no boyfriend, and was about to be evicted from her apartment. She started calling me constantly, begging for help. Please, Derek, I'm sorry about everything. I'll never do anything like this again. I just need a place to stay until I figure out my next move. Figure out what? How to be a decent human being? That opportunity sailed a long time ago. I'm your sister. No, you're a criminal who tried to steal from me while I was grieving my wife. We're not family anymore. The phone calls got increasingly desperate as her situation deteriorated. When she was finally evicted from her apartment, she started showing up at my house, camping out on my doorstep, crying and begging for help. I have nowhere else to go, Derek. I'll freeze out here. Should have thought about that before you tried to destroy Sarah's memory for money. I was wrong. I admitted I was wrong. What more do you want from me? I want you to face the consequences of your actions without trying to manipulate your way out of them. Eventually, Mom took her in temporarily, but even that didn't last long. Brittany tried to steal money from Mom's Social Security check to buy drugs she'd started using to cope with her situation, and Mom finally kicked her out permanently. Last I heard, she was living in her car in a shopping center parking lot, facing multiple court dates, and working at a gas station for minimum wage. Her mugshot from the unemployment fraud arrest appeared in the local newspaper's crime section. The ironic thing is, if she had just asked for help like a normal person instead of trying to scam me, I probably would have given her some money. Not $120,000, but enough to help her get back on her feet temporarily. I'm not completely heartless, but she chose to attack Sarah's memory, and that was absolutely unforgivable. 6 months later, I received a letter from her in county jail. She'd been sentenced to 16 months for the unemployment fraud. It was 5 pages of apologies, promises to change her life, and desperate pleas for me to help with her legal expenses. I fed it through my paper shredder without reading past the first paragraph. So here's the deal. I'm 26 years old, and there's this guy. Let's call him Max, okay? Max and I have been together for quite a while, right from the start. Now, Max's family, they're pretty cool with me, but his sister, let's name her Olivia, is just a total nightmare to deal with. Just to give you the full picture, Max is the oldest kid in his family. His parents came from Asia, and then 3 years after Max was born, along comes Olivia. Max has shared stories about how their parents are super strict about school grades. They always pushed him and Olivia to be at the top of their class, aiming for the best scores possible. But here's the thing. Max wasn't really into the whole studying scene. He was more of an athlete, really good at sports. Plus, he was super into chess, joining the chess club at school, and even hanging out after school to play. But his parents, they didn't get it. They thought chess was a total waste of time, something anybody could do, and they kept nagging him to quit and focus on his studies. Max was smart, but not in the way his parents wanted him to be. Olivia, on the other hand, was exactly what they wanted. She was all about the books, always nailing her exams and spending her nights buried in homework. As you can guess, she was favored more by their parents. Max has told me how his parents would always compare both their grades and reward Olivia for being better. For example, they would allow her to have a grand birthday party, have sleepovers with her friends, and buy her bigger presents to show their affection. However, when it came to Max, they would tell him regularly that they were ashamed about his marks. When it came to his birthdays, they would refuse to spend any money and tell him how he needs to work harder if he wants to earn a birthday party and gifts. Even writing about this makes me so sad because I have watched Max break down in front of me while he told me stories from his childhood and how his parents always treated Olivia better. She was the golden child in the family, and she clearly enjoyed it. She would put him down at every chance she got and make fun of his marks. She never had any respect for him as an older sibling, and I think this disrespect still continues today. When it was time for Max to go to college, his parents made it clear that they could not afford to pay for both of their college tuitions, so they could only pay for his sister's tuition fees, and he needed to apply for scholarships or take a student loan. This completely shocked Max, and they had a huge fight. He went off on his parents about how they always treated him, and why they even had him if they didn't like him. His parents told him how they have made so many sacrifices over the years for their children. So now it was time for Max to grow up. Olivia agreed with her parents and told Max how he was clearly not the intelligent one in the family, so he needed to just suck up and sacrifice for her sake. She also called him a bunch of other things, like the loser. It was after this fight that Max realized that his parents would always continue to favor her more than him. When he got admission to his college to study computer science with scholarships, He decided to move out and go low contact with his family. His parents never came to see him off or help him move into the dorm, which is so heartbreaking to even think about. Over the years, they would sometimes talk, but Max would mostly keep it short. When he was graduating cum laude, his parents wanted to come and cheer for him, but Max forbade them from coming. They started to cry about how he was their son, and they wanted to be there for his big moment. Max reminded them about how they had not even bothered to pay for his college tuition while they paid for Olivia's tuition, so they were not allowed to be a part of his achievements anymore. They fought a bit, but in the end, his parents agreed to stay away. This is how their relationship had been for a long time. Now I'm an architect, and I have done a master in urban planning from one of the top universities in our country. Unlike Max's parents, my parents were relatively easy on me. I'm a single child, so I pretty much got all the attention. My parents are professors, so all my life I was encouraged to study what I like and have other hobbies as well. I have to admit that I was lucky to never face any comparison. My parents have always had my back. When I met Max, he and I were working from the same office complex but on different floors, as his company was on the second floor and mine was on the seventh. We would usually meet in the elevators and have mutual friends who would hang out as a group. This is how I met him during a party, and we hit it off. Max was charming, sweet, genuinely kind. He is the sort of boyfriend who brings me flowers every month, brings me my favorite cheesecake when I have period cramps without even asking cooks for me, and is not shy to tell me how much he loves me. Now I'm a sucker when it comes to romance. So it didn't take us long before I moved in with him, as it made more sense since we did spend a lot of time together at each other's place. Now I've heard horror stories from my girlfriends about how some of their boyfriends don't help them out around the house. But Max is the complete opposite. He is more of an OCD than me, and deep cleans our home every weekend. We share and divide tasks, like if he cooks, then I clean up, or if he does the laundry, then I fold them. This is how it has always been between us. When it came time to meet each other's parents, he told me how he had been pretty much low contact with his parents for a long time and only talked to them whenever necessary, since they never treated him well. And he recounted to me all his childhood stories. However, when he did decide to reach out to his parents about me, they were ecstatic to talk to him and immediately arranged a lunch date with us during the weekend. I was a bit nervous to meet his parents, but this was an important step for us, so I wanted to put in my 100%. His parents were unexpectedly warm towards me, and once they heard about my academic background, they became even more polite. Looking back, yes, it's true that they started to like me because of my academic inclination, but I didn't mind, as I wanted to impress them. His parents talked to me very frankly and told me how after Max had gone low contact with him over the years after college, they had been thinking and realizing that they needed to be better to him. They told me how grateful they were that I came into his life. Otherwise, he might have never reached out to them. They even awkwardly apologized to him, which completely surprised Max. It was nice to see that his parents were finally making an effort in the right direction. However, when Kylie arrived, the mood changed. Max had not been informed that she would even be coming, so he was a bit miffed. His parents started to justify, saying how they had decided to call her, since they felt this would be the perfect time to let go of the past so their family could move on. His mother continued to tell him how his sister was here, only because she was happy for him. Kylie politely gave me a hug, and she just seemed super shy of my first impression. She completely ignored Max as if he didn't even exist and didn't say a single thing to him. When his parents started to brag to her about my academic background, her behavior changed. She started to question me about my work and the university I went to, and would then subtly mock how urban planners are affecting the environment. She even asked me at one point how I felt about murdering trees, which shocked me. It was like she wanted to put me down in front of her parents because she just could not handle the fact that they liked me. Throughout our lunch, she was passive-aggressive. She disagreed with or corrected everything I said, no matter how mundane. When we were finished for lunch, my father-in-law wanted to pay, but Max was insisting that he wanted to take care of the bills. Out of nowhere, Olivia interrupted, saying I should be the one paying for it. Since they were all here because of me, she certainly taunted this since I was earning so much I could make good use of my money at least. This seriously offended me as I did quite well, but she had no right to talk about me that way, and I think her parents noticed my facial expressions also. They immediately reprimanded her, and father-in-law told her that she was being extremely rude to me since I was just a guest. Mother-in-law agreed and told Olivia to shut her mouth. She clearly didn't like that and got up from her seat pissed, then walk out of the restaurant. Max's parents apologized to me multiple times for her behavior and told me how she takes some time to warm up to strangers. I decided to let it go, thinking that I would never have to interact with her anyway. And for the sake of Max, I should keep it together. This should have been my first red flag about her, unlike Max's family. My family absolutely adored Max and loved getting to know him. My parents were happy that we were living together and would check on me regularly over the years of dating. I have noticed that Olivia is always the first one to view my stories on social media. Now, I do have a public account where I post about my designs and professional achievements. I just have 1,000 followers, so it's easy for me to notice when she views my stories every day, but does not interact or follow me. When Max's parents started to meet with me and Max more often, Olivia's obsession with me only grew stronger. We had a family message group between me, Max, his parents, and Olivia. It was mostly inactive unless we all met up and clicked pictures. So then we would send these pictures in the group. Olivia never showed up to meet with us anymore after the first time. However, she could see all the pictures in our group, and this probably upset her even more once she sent a Facebook link to the group asking me if this was me. Curiously, I clicked it to see that it was a photo from years ago with my then high school boyfriend. In the picture, we were hugging, and he had uploaded it when we had been dating. I have completely forgotten about the photo, and I don't even know how she found it or why she would even send it to the group. But I was not going to shy away from the truth, so I told her that this was me and that he was an old boyfriend. Olivia immediately replied, saying how I seemed awfully close and that I should ask my ex-boyfriend to remove this picture from his Facebook since it was not appropriate anymore. I was taken aback by how ridiculous she sounded. First of all, she had stopped me so much that she had ended up on my ex-boyfriend's page and then sent the photo link to the group knowingly, and then she blamed me for it. Thankfully, Max, who had probably been reading our messages in the group, replied saying this was a completely normal picture and that he had no issues with the picture posted years ago. Olivia replied back passive-aggressively how he should date someone with better standards. I was so pissed reading her message that I would have ripped her hair out if she was standing in front of me. Max messaged back to her that he did have better standards, since I earned more than 4 times her salary. Now I know this must have stung her since Olivia worked as a graphic designer, and her parents had mentioned how she didn't earn enough for her to even move out. Olivia immediately exited the group in anger, and later called Max, screaming and crying to him that he had no right to insult her in the group, and that she was so done with us. Max didn't care, and this made her even more angry. I don't know what happened, but Max's parents did call and apologize to me in the evening. They told me how they had talked to her and that she was going to be better moving forward. They apologized to me for her and told me that they had no issues with the picture whatsoever. It was very awkward to be talking to my in-laws about my ex-boyfriend from years ago, but I was glad that they were not like Olivia. After this incident, Olivia pretty much stayed away from us. She never joined the group or bothered me again. A few months later, we were shocked to find out that she had eloped with a guy and got married in Vegas. Her parents were extremely shocked and pissed that they didn't even know who this guy was, nor what they invited to the wedding. It turns out that Olivia had been dating an older guy, Isaac, who's 15 years older than her for quite some time. They met at work when Isaac was still married. This affair led to Isaac's wife divorcing him. When their divorce was finalized, Olivia eloped with him because she knew her parents would never allow her to marry an older divorcee or forgive her for having an affair with a married man. She had kept all of this from her parents for several years. She never even told them about any of this since they were already pissed that he was so much older than her. Max and I only found out about Isaac's history when he stopped the guy on his LinkedIn and Instagram. Apart from the affair part, we were happy for her since we hoped she would turn over a new leaf after their marriage. Although we refrained from contacting her, however, a few weeks later, I received a text from my sister-in-law. Unexpectedly, the message went something like this. I know in the past I haven't been nice to you and I would like to apologize. I have to admit that I didn't fully accept you as my family before, but now I've gotten past the prejudice I have against you and would like to get to know you better. I would like to have dinner with you and Max this weekend. Let me know if you both are available. I showed the message to Max, and he was wary about going, but I thought this might give us a chance to work everything out. And since she was extending an olive branch, first we discussed it and I convinced him to go. I let her know as well that we would be coming, and she seemed happy about it. When we met Olivia, she warmly welcomed us into her new place with Isaac. It was clear that Isaac was a wealthy guy since he was much older than all of us. He had a modern home with a lot of gadgets, and Isaac, after introducing himself, got to know my husband around the place. Isaac apparently also had a dedicated shelf for all his collectibles while the men were busy. Me and Olivia got to talking. She apologized to me for her behavior and told me how after marrying Isaac, she had changed a politely smile to let her know that it was all water under the bridge. Olivia then went on to explain why she hated me. She told me how I had changed Max and that he seemed more confident and happier. After meeting him, I pointed out to her how this was a good thing, but she said how her brother had been in low contact with them for so long, but only reached out because of me. So she felt jealous that I could make him do such a thing. Although what she told me didn't make any sense to me, I simply nodded since I wanted to get this over with. Then she started to talk about how much happier she was now, so she could finally let go of her jealousy. She talked about how rich Isaac was and that she never had to work ever again. She brought up his various assets and how many cars he had, even though I never even asked about it. She then asked me how my work was going, and I told her about my recent promotion and fulfilling my work. I genuinely love designing, so sometimes I can ramble on about my work. Olivia immediately changed the subject and started to ask me invasive questions like when I would get married to her brother. I told her that we had discussed, but we were in no hurry because we both believed that things happen at the right time. Olivia scoffed and told me that this was all BS and that I needed to push Max to propose to me so that I don't get too old later to have children. This made me laugh, and I told her how me and Max never wanted kids, and we were fine with how our relationship was going. This made Olivia's eyes widened in shock, and she started to say how, as a woman, it was our duty to give birth, and even asked me why I was with Max if I didn't want to give him children. I felt so irritated with her, invasive this, and told her that her brother and I were adults enough to decide what we wanted. She then got pissed and then started yelling for Max. When Max and Isaac came running into the room while I sat feeling shocked by her behavior, Olivia demanded Max tell her if he had any idea about the type of woman he was marrying. Since I had no interest in continuing his bloodline, Max laughed at her words, just like I had done a few moments ago, and asked if she realized how ridiculous she sounded right now. Olivia got even more angry and raised her voice, saying that she was going to tell their parents and that they would never allow him to marry me. Max yelled back that no one could refrain him from marrying me if he wanted to, and that because of narcissistic and controlling behavior, he never wanted to ever get back in touch with her. They were getting more heated, so I asked Max if we could leave, and he agreed. Isaac apologized to us repeatedly while Olivia stood there, glaring at me. Later in our car ride home, I burst out crying, since I felt really bad about what she had told me. I asked Max seriously if he wanted to have children, but he assured me that he never wanted one, and that I should not allow Olivia's backward thinking to mess with my head. He assured me that if he had wanted anything different, then he would not even be with me. I felt a bit better after that. I don't know if Olivia ever did talk to their parents about what I had told her, but thankfully they never reached out to me saying anything. Max's parents have continued to meet with us and whenever they could, and they have never brought up anything, she told them, after this incident. I block Olivia from all my social media because I was truly done with her this year. Max proposed to me at our favorite date spot, and ever since then we have been busy with our wedding preparations. Our parents are really happy for us and have congratulated us on our upcoming nuptials. Olivia did find out from her parents and sent Max a text message simply saying, "I hope you know what you're doing," which pissed him off. I also felt sad that she had continued to hold a grudge against me to this day. Now this is where things got even more complicated with her. 2 months back, my fiancé, I had a headache and wasn't feeling too good, so I ordered to whip up his favorite dish. Realizing we were short on some ingredients, I decided to hit the grocery store. The first one I went to didn't have everything I needed, so I ended up driving around a bit until I found another store in a different parts of town. As I strolled through the shopping complex on my way to the store, I happened to pass by a cafe, and to my surprise, I spotted my sister-in-law cozying up with some guy. At first I thought it might be Isaac, but after a second look, I realized the guy looked close to her age with brown hair. They were holding hands and sharing kisses, acting all giggly and chatty like teenagers. This was quite a shocker for me because as far as I knew, sister-in-law was still married to Isaac. If they had broken up, my fiancé's parents would have definitely informed us in a state of disbelief. I couldn't resist taking a few pictures as my eyes confirmed of what I was witnessing. She never even noticed me as she was so busy with the guy. Later, when I came back home, my hands were shaking. Max knew something was wrong and came to talk to me. I spilled out everything and he was taken aback, just like me. He asked me to 2 to 3 times if I was sure about what I had seen. I nodded yes and even showed him pictures. He saw each picture closely and agreed that it was definitely not Isaac about this. But I didn't know if this was a good idea, since I didn't want Olivia to fight with him again. He assured me that he would be careful and have a talk with Isaac, man to man, and told me how, as Olivia's husband, Isaac deserves to know the truth, so we can Max talk to Isaac privately. It turns out that Isaac was shocked to find out that Olivia had been cheating on him with a much younger guy. But what is even more shocking is the Olivia is pregnant. Yes, pregnant. Apparently, they had just found out, and she has kept this on the wrap since then because she has been waiting for the right time to announce Isaac was floored that Olivia could do something like this to him, and thankful to Max for telling him. He begged us to not tell Olivia anything about this and that he would take care of it soon. Max agreed, and since then, we have kept our noses out of it. Now we had our wedding last week. Max's parents have convinced us to invite Olivia also since she was family and told us how it would look bad if she was missing. We agreed just to shut them up, and I firmly told them that they needed to talk to her and make sure that she didn't make a scene in our wedding. His parents agreed, and we believed them on the day of our wedding. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Our ceremony went well, and we moved on to the reception. When it came to giving speeches, my parents gave a beautiful speech about me, and my dad teared up saying how his baby girl had finally grown up. Dad also gave a speech and thanked me for bringing the family close, which was so sweet to their heart. Honestly, out of the corner of my eye, sister-in-law attempting to grab the microphone from father-in-law. While it might seem innocent to others, I know her well enough to not take any chances. I had already tipped off my bridesmaids to instruct the DJ to cut the mic if sister-in-law ever tried to take control. When Olivia attempted to speak into the microphone, she quickly realized that her voice wasn't carrying, and she glanced around. Max and I simply acted like we had no idea. Later, when my maid of honor, Martha, took the mic from sister-in-law and the DJ turned it on, Olivia must have realized that we deliberately cut her off. She started to scream in the middle of my office speech about how dare we not let her speak and how she had an important announcement. She tried to grab the mic from Mafa, who refused to give it to her. We then watched in horror as Olivia angrily got up onto her chair and started to speak loudly about how she had known all along. Jealous I was about her that I was such a bridezilla to not let her speak at my wedding. People watched her in confusion and shock, and she then continued to announce that she was pregnant, and she wanted to reveal this today, since she felt this was the perfect time. We all loved ones gathered around. She then smiled and looked around, hoping for people to stop, to congratulate her. However, everyone just looked around awkwardly. Max's parents looked past, whispered to Olivia to not embarrass them further, and that she needed to sit back down in her seat. But this just made Olivia go red in embarrassment. She glanced at me and started to yell if I was happy for doing this to my own husband's family, and that this is why she never wanted her brother to marry a loose woman like me. Max, who had up until then tried to remain calm for the sake of me, got up from his chair and looked like he was going to give her a thrashing of her life. However, before we could react, Isaac, who was sitting beside Olivia, took the mic from Mafa, and he apologized to us for Olivia's behavior and then congratulated us on our wedding. Then he turned to Olivia and told her that he never wanted to do this publicly, but she needed to be taught a lesson. Olivia looked at him confusingly, while Isaac went on to say about how it was true that Olivia was indeed pregnant, but that he was not the father of the child. The crowd gasped, and I couldn't help but cringe knowing where this was heading. Olivia's expression turned sour. Isaac turned to her and announced, "Let's first figure out who is a father to your children, is then worry about the announcement," and smirked at her. Max's parents, who was silent, asked what he meant, and this is when he showed them pictures from his phone about how Olivia had been cheating on him for the past 2 months with another guy. Thankfully, Isaac never once threw me and Max under the bus and simply continued to say how he had become suspicious about her behavior and had hired API who had clicked all these pictures. Max's parents glanced through the pictures in disgust and horror, while the guests continued to whisper. Olivia sat speechless throughout all of this, perhaps trying to comprehend the fact that she could not hide the truth anymore. Max then seized the opportunity and asked Olivia to get out of our wedding, and that he was embarrassed by being related to a woman like her. She burst out crying, holding up her things, and left. After this debacle, we tried to save the rest of the wedding, but everyone was just too riled up about what Olivia had done to Isaac and us. All anyone could talk about was her affair and her pregnancy. It was really embarrassing for us and Max's parents also. And since then, I've been getting emails from random email addresses, which clearly belong to my sister-in-law, threatening me that she wants to finish me because apparently this is all my fault, and that I should have just let her announce her pregnancy so she would not have been publicly humiliated. I have shown these messages to Max, and he believes we have done nothing wrong. And this was all her own doing. He might be biased. So here I am asking Ada for being too harsh on my sister-in-law and not allowing her to announce her pregnancy. Update 1. Wow. When I posted this, I hoped a few people would tell me if I did anything wrong. For now, there are hundreds of comments on my post, calling my sister-in-law an asshole. This post has blown up in a few days. First of all, Thank you for showing me that she is a crazy, as I have always fought her to be. To answer some of your questions. Yes, Isaac has informed us that he will be getting a divorce from Olivia. Yes, I will be forwarding all screenshots of her mail to Isaac, which will definitely come in handy for this court proceeding. Now, we haven't yet talked with Max's parents, but because we are still in our honeymoon and this is quite a heavy topic, so we plan on meeting them face to face for this conversation. Yes, my parents and my relatives were just as shocked as everyone, and my parents continue to check up on me every day as they are shaken up by how Olivia behaved towards me. I think for such a long time, I hope that she and I would become at least cordial, that I have forgotten to notice just how manipulative and narcissistic she truly is. It is only now, when my family is pointing it out and assuring me that they have my back, that I feel confident enough in my decision to cut her out of our lives, even if Max's parents might resist it. Update 2. So we got a chance to talk with Max's parents now that we are back from our honeymoon. They are extremely embarrassed, to say the least. They have informed us that they have cut off Olivia, which was completely unexpected for us to hear. They continue to tell us how Olivia wanted to move back in with them since Isaac kicked her out, but they refused to even let her in. In the end, she had to go and stay with one of her friends. Max informed his parents that what Olivia had done in our wedding was unforgivable, and moving forward, we would like no contact with her whatsoever. If they ever changed their minds and wanted us to include Olivia again, then we would also cut them off if we had to. Max's mother started to cry, talking about how painful all of this was and that she never expected Olivia to do something like this. I don't know how true they will remain to their word, but I'm glad that my husband is a no-nonsense person. Unlike me, so I know he will never allow her back into our lives. I'm glad that we are done with Olivia completely. Update 3. It has been 8 months since my last update, and I just wanted to update. The Isaac has finally divorced Olivia. Isaac informed us that Olivia did admit to everything. Towards the end, she confessed that she had been seeing this guy on the side, and it was purely physical. But she got pregnant. She never wanted any relationship with him, so she had hoped that she could get away with it since she was at fault for having an affair, and they didn't have any children. She would not be getting any alimony from him due to this. Olivia begged Isaac to let her keep one of his cars, at least as a keepsake. But Isaac refused. She then started to cry about how he had no one to depend on during her pregnancy, since the father of the child had abandoned her also, but Isaac let her know that it was none of his business anymore. We continue to remain in touch with Isaac despite his divorce. Max and Haley have grown closer in the past few months. They sometimes meet during the weekend to play video games. Max's parents have not talked to Olivia, so I am guessing she is truly alone for her child's sake. I hope she makes the right decisions moving forward. My sister's kid humiliated my son at his birthday party. While everyone laughed, so I kicked them out. That night, my mom messaged, "You're dead to us." I replied, "Understood. I'm calling in every penny you owe me." Hey, Reddit. My nephew humiliated my son while his mother laughed. Then she disrespected me and my wife. So I kicked everyone out. What followed was absolute chaos. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the shit show. Name's Ezra, 36 male. I'm married to Billy for 7 years, and we've got a 9-year-old son named Caleb. For the past 5 years, I've been the family ATM with actual loan documents to prove it. I'm a corporate accountant in Phoenix. Pull in about $95,000. Billy's a dental hygienist making $60,000. Between us, we're comfortable. Or we were until my older sister Nicole decided her financial problems were my responsibility. Nicole's 39, single mom to a 12-year-old named Braden. Got pregnant in college, dad bailed, been playing victim ever since. Works as an office manager, makes decent money, but somehow she's always broke. My parents eat it up. Poor Nicole, struggling single mom, needs help. Meanwhile, Billy and I budget and plan, but apparently that means we should bankroll everyone. It started 5 years ago. Nicole called crying about her car. Transmission died on the freeway. Needed $4,500. I drew up a promissory note, 3% interest, $200 monthly payments. She made 3 payments before the excuses started. Can't make this month's payment. Braden needs cleats. You know how tight things are? Then the HVAC system in July, $8,200. Then Braden's broken arm, $3,600. Security deposit for a nicer apartment, $2,800. Car insurance, $1,900. Each time, promissory notes. Each time, she signed without reading. Each time, 2 payments before the well ran dry. 5 years, 17 loans, $68,400 total. She'd paid back $4,100. I kept every document, every note, every payment schedule, every text about delays. Just needed proof I wasn't crazy when she'd claim different terms. Billy hated it. Hated Nicole, which was fair because Nicole hated Billy right back. My sister called Billy controlling. Mom and Dad lived in Tucson. They had money but guilted me into helping Nicole instead. My buddy Spencer, a corporate attorney, looked at my loan documents one evening. You've got $64,300 in outstanding debt with signed promissory notes. Send demand letters. I laughed it off. Should have listened. The week before Caleb's birthday, Billy had been planning for weeks. Custom cake, decorations, and this robotics kit Caleb wanted. I called to confirm attendance. Mom said of course. Nicole said she'd be there. The morning of Caleb's birthday, Billy was wrapping the robotics kit. Caleb had been dropping hints for months. You think your sister's actually going to show up on time? Billy asked. She said she would. She also said she'd pay back that transmission loan 2 years ago. We got to the arcade at 2. The party started at 3. Set up the private room. Balloons, streamers, banner, perfect cake with gears and circuits. Caleb was basically bouncing off the walls. Mom and Dad showed up early. Dad hugged Caleb quickly, then asked where Nicole was. Nicole and Braden rolled in 40 minutes late. No apology. Nicole walked in like she owned the place. Braden scrolled through his phone, didn't look up when Caleb ran over to say hi. We ordered pizza. Braden ignored Caleb's attempts at conversation. Nicole kept going on while Mom talked about Braden's coding competition. Caleb got quieter every time they brought it up. Dad tried redirecting, asked Caleb about school, but Nicole cut him off to brag about Braden's summer internship. After pizza, we sang Happy Birthday. Nicole didn't even pretend to care. Time for presents. Mom and Dad gave a $50 gift card. Nicole handed over a basic Lego set for a 6-year-old. Caleb smiled anyway and said thank you, because he's a good kid. We figured you'd like something simple, Nicole said, looking directly at Billy. Since his interests are still pretty basic, not every kid can be at Braden's level. Some are just average. Billy's jaw got tight, but she didn't respond. Then I brought out the robotics kit. Caleb's whole face lit up when he saw it. No way. Dad, is this the X5 builder kit? He jumped up, hugged us both, started reading the box like nothing else existed. For about 30 seconds, it was perfect. Then Braden spoke up. That's a beginner kit. I built that when I was 8. It's super basic. Caleb looked up, confused. Braden kept going. I'm working with Arduino boards now. Real programming. That's just toys for babies. The table went quiet. Caleb's face fell. It's not for babies. Nicole laughed. Honey, don't be mean. Not everyone can be gifted like you. She looked at Caleb with fake sympathy. It's okay, sweetie. You're trying your best. That's what matters, right? Even if you're behind. Mom actually giggled. Dad looked down at his plate. Billy's hand found mine under the table. She was shaking, but Nicole wasn't done. She gestured around the arcade. I mean, this whole party is kind of sad, isn't it? Pizza and arcade games. Braden's birthday is going to be at that new indoor adventure park. The expensive one. We're doing it right. She looked at Billy. But I guess some people just don't know how to throw a proper celebration. Caleb's face went red. He looked down at his kit, then pushed it away a little, like he was suddenly embarrassed by it. Billy stood up slowly. Nicole, shut your mouth. Nicole's eyes went wide. Excuse me? You heard me. Your son just called my son's gift toys for babies at his own birthday party. Shut your mouth. Don't you dare tell me what to do. Maybe if you actually pushed Caleb instead of babying him, he wouldn't be so far behind. Behind what? Your spoiled brat? Nicole stood up fast. Her chair fell backward and hit the floor. How dare you call Braden a brat? He's gifted. He's exceptional. Your son is a nightmare, and you're raising him to be just like you. Nicole's face went purple. Her hand shot out and grabbed Billy's wrist hard. At least I raised my son to be someone special. What has Caleb accomplished? Caleb started crying, tears running down his face while his cousin smirked. Billy tried to pull away. Let go of me. You've always been jealous of me and Braden. Always. You can't stand that my son is better than yours. That I'm doing this alone and still raising someone exceptional, while you have all the help in the world and your kid is still mediocre. That's when I snapped. I stood up and got between them, grabbed Nicole's wrist and squeezed until she let go of Billy. My voice came out quiet and mean. Get your hand off my wife. Now. Nicole dropped Billy's arm, but didn't back down. Her face was still twisted up. Oh, so now you're taking her side? Get out. What? Get out. Take your kid and leave. Right now. Ezra, don't be ridiculous. You just made my 9-year-old cry at his own birthday party. You insulted my son, my home, and everything we did today. Get out, or I'm calling security. The entire arcade had gone quiet. Other families staring. Staff watching from behind the counter. Mom's mouth hanging open. Nicole looked around, saw everyone watching. You're really going to choose her over your own family? Billy is my family. Caleb is my family. You're just someone who's taken $68,000 from me and given me nothing but grief. Get out. You're making a huge mistake. You're nothing without this family. We're done. Mom, Dad, are you coming? Mom stood up, tears in her eyes. Ezra, how could you? Mom, if you leave with her, that's your choice. But I'm not apologizing for protecting my wife and son. Nicole was at the door. She turned around one last time. You'll regret this. And when you do, I won't be there. None of us will. I'm counting on it. She slammed the door. The entire arcade went quiet. Everyone staring. Mom looked at me like I'd killed someone. Your father and I will be going too. I hope you're happy. They left. The arcade manager came over. Everything okay? Yeah, just family drama. Sorry for the scene. No problem. Your sister was way out of line. I walked over to Billy and Caleb, knelt down next to them. Hey, buddy, I'm sorry. It's okay, Dad. It's not okay. What she said was wrong. They're not welcome around us anymore. Really? Really? You don't have to see them again. Good. They're mean. Billy looked at me. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling. Thank you. I should have done it sooner. You did it when it mattered. We stayed another hour. Caleb played games. The mood got better. By the time we left, he was smiling again. In the car, he held the robotics kit, actually looking at it this time. Dad? Yeah, buddy? Can we build this tomorrow? Absolutely. He smiled. Good. That night, after Caleb was asleep, Billy and I sat on the couch, still trying to process what happened. She pulled out her laptop. Your sister took Braden to Disneyland last month. 3-day trip, all over social media. Park hoppers, nice hotel, character breakfast. I stared at her. But she needed $900 for car repairs 2 weeks ago. Yep. And now she needs $1,400 for a laptop. See a pattern? I saw it. Had been seeing it for years. Just hadn't wanted to face it. Billy closed her laptop and looked at me. So what now? What do you mean? You threw your sister out of a public place. Basically told your parents to pick sides. Your mom said they're done with you. What's next? I pulled up my loan files. $68,400. 17 loans with signed promissory notes. I make it official. Give her 30 days to start real payments, or I go legal. Billy's eyebrows went up. You're serious. Dead serious. She embarrassed us in front of everyone today. I'm done playing nice. Your family's going to lose their minds. They already have. Might as well make it count. She smiled. Okay, let's do it. I called Spencer the next morning. Told him everything that happened at the party. Wait, he said. Your sister physically grabbed your wife? In front of witnesses? Yep. And you kicked her out? Told her to get out or I'd throw her out myself. Holy cow. You really did it. And now I want to go after the loans. All of them. I'll have the demand letters ready by tomorrow. This is going to get ugly. Good. 2 days after Caleb's birthday, my phone blew up. Mom, Dad, Nicole, all saying the same thing. I was being selfish. Nicole needed that laptop. Braden's future was at stake. Family helps family. I ignored them. Helped Caleb build his robotics kit. Then Mom showed up at our house Saturday morning. Didn't call first. Just knocked on the door at 8 a.m. Can we talk? She asked. Billy appeared behind me. Helen, it's 8 a.m. I need to talk to Ezra, alone. Whatever you say to him, you can say in front of me. Mom's lips got thin. She didn't like Billy. Never had. Nicole is really hurt, Mom said, ignoring Billy completely. She needed help, and you've never said no before. Maybe that's the problem, I said. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've been giving her loans for 5 years, and she's paid back maybe 5% of what she owes. Maybe it's time she figured her own stuff out. Mom looked shocked. She's a single mother, Ezra. She's doing her best. And I'm married with a kid and a mortgage. I'm doing my best too. It's different. You have Billy's income. Nicole is alone. There it was. The same excuse I'd been hearing for 5 years. Billy stepped forward. Helen, with all due respect, Nicole makes $55,000 a year. She could budget. She could save. She could not go to Disneyland if she needs money for a laptop. She chooses not to because she knows Ezra will bail her out. Mom's face went red. That trip was a gift from a friend. Nicole didn't pay for it. Bull, Billy said. I saw the posts. She paid for the hotel and the park tickets. That's at least $2,000. But sure, she can't afford a laptop. You don't understand what she's going through. I understand she's a grown woman who needs to take responsibility for her choices. Mom looked at me. Are you going to let her talk about your sister like that? Billy's not wrong, I said. Mom's face changed. Wounded turned to cold. I see. Well, don't be surprised when Nicole stops coming to family events. Don't be surprised when Braden asks why his uncle doesn't care about him anymore. She left. Billy closed the door and leaned against it. That went well, I said. She'll call your dad next. He'll try the guilt trip. Just wait. She was right. Dad called that afternoon. Took the softer approach. Said he understood money was tight, but maybe I could at least do half? Help Nicole out a little? For Braden's sake? Dad, you sat there while Nicole grabbed Billy, while she made Caleb cry at his own birthday party, while she called him average and mediocre and said our party was sad. You did nothing. Silence on the line. You've sat there and said nothing while she's taken $64,300 from me over 5 years. That ends now. He didn't have an answer. Hung up a few minutes later. Told me to think about what I was doing to the family. I thought about it. Decided I was doing the right thing. The call stopped for a week. Then Nicole called late at night. 11:30. I need to talk to you. Her voice was pissed. Okay. Not on the phone. That coffee shop near your office tomorrow. Noon. I met her at noon. She looked tired. Angry. Ready for a fight. What's this about? You really hurt Mom's feelings. That's what this is about? She's been crying for days. You've never treated us like this. Maybe I should have. Her eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? I pulled out my phone. Showed her the loan files. 17 loans. $68,400. You've paid back $4,100. When are you paying the rest? She didn't look. Those were family loans. I didn't think you were keeping score. You signed promissory notes with payment schedules. What did you think those were? I thought you were helping me. Not keeping score. I was helping. Past tense. You took advantage. She leaned back, crossed her arms. Billy put you up to this. Billy's been telling me to stop for years. Should have listened. She's always hated me. You've always hated her. Don't pretend this is one-sided. Nicole's face twisted. She thinks she's so much better than us. She's turned you against us. No, Nicole. You did that when you humiliated my son at his own birthday party. Braden was just being honest. That kid is basic. I stared at her. She wasn't sorry. She actually believed Braden was better than Caleb. And pointing it out was just being honest. You've got 30 days to start payments. Or I'm going to collections. Her eyes went wide. You wouldn't. Try me. I'm your sister. And I'm done being your bank. I left. Drove back to work. Called Spencer and told him to draft the demand letters. Spencer had the demand letters ready by Tuesday. Each laid out the loans, amounts, dates, payment schedules she'd blown off, cited the promissory notes, gave 30 days before legal collection. This is going to blow up your relationship with your sister, Spencer said. She already did that. Your parents, too. They picked sides years ago. I sent them certified mail that afternoon. Nicole's delivered Wednesday. Mom and Dad's Thursday. I waited for the explosion. It came Friday night. Mom called screaming. I held the phone away from my ear. How dare you threaten your sister with legal action? Over money? What is wrong with you? She borrowed it. She signed documents. She needs to pay it back. She doesn't have it. Then she shouldn't have borrowed it. Mom was crying now. Real tears or fake tears. Hard to tell with her. Your father is devastated. Nicole is having panic attacks. You're destroying this family. I sent a demand letter. That's it. If she starts paying, there's no lawsuit. She can't pay. She doesn't have the money. She had money for Disneyland. Silence. Then, who told you about that? It's on her Instagram. She's not exactly hiding it. More silence. Then the sob. You've changed. Billy's changed you. You used to care about family. I still do. Just not the family that uses me. I hung up. Dad called 10 minutes later. Took the begging approach. Please don't do this. Please give Nicole more time. I told him the same thing. Start paying, no lawsuit. Don't pay, face consequences. Simple. Nicole didn't call. She texted. Long paragraphs about betrayal and family and how I was ruining her life. About how Braden was asking why I hated them. About how she'd never ask me for anything again. I didn't respond. Saturday morning, someone started pounding on the door. Nicole's car in the driveway. I opened the door. She pushed past me, face red. Where's Billy? I know she's behind this. Billy appeared in the hallway. I'm right here, Nicole. You poisoned him against me. He was fine until he married you. He was being used. There's a difference. Nicole stepped toward her. I moved between them. Leave. Now. I'm not leaving. I'm your sister. And you're destroying me over money? You destroyed yourself. When were you planning to pay me back? Give me a date. She didn't answer. That's what I thought. You've got 25 days. Start making payments or deal with the consequences. I'll tell everyone what you're doing. The whole family. Go ahead. I've got documentation. You've got excuses. She glared at Billy. This is your fault. Leave, I said, before I call the cops for trespassing. She left. Slammed the door hard enough to shake the frame. Billy let out a long breath. Well, that was fun. You okay? I'm fine. She's been dying to have it out with me for years. Glad we finally did. Over the next week, I got calls and texts from everyone. Mom, Dad, cousins I hadn't talked to in years. Even my aunt who lived in Oregon and barely knew what was going on. All saying the same thing. I was being cruel. Money wasn't worth destroying family. Nicole made mistakes, but she was trying. I should give her another chance. Nobody asked about the $64,300. Nobody asked why Nicole had taken 17 loans and paid back almost nothing. Nobody asked how Billy and I felt watching our son get treated like garbage. They just wanted me to shut up, forgive, forget, and go back to being the good ATM son. I didn't. Spencer helped me prep the next step. Small claims court for the loans under $10,000, civil court for the bigger ones, credit bureau reporting for all of them, wage garnishment paperwork ready to go. You're really doing this, he said, going over the filings. I really am. Your family's going to lose their minds. They already have. Might as well make it worth it. Me and Billy went to dinner that night. Nice place. Kind of a celebration. She raised her glass. To having a backbone, she said. To having a wife who's been right about everything for 5 years. We clinked glasses. For the first time in forever, I felt relieved. Day 29. No payment from Nicole. No communication except hostile texts about what a terrible person I was. Mom had stopped calling. Dad sent one last email begging me to reconsider. I didn't respond. Day 30 came and went. I filed the paperwork. Spencer walked me through it. Small claims for the 3 loans under $10,000. Those would be fast. Civil court for the rest. Those would take longer, but were just as solid. Credit reporting for all of it. Nicole's credit score was about to tank. You know she's going to freak out when she gets served, right? Spencer said. I'm counting on it. Mom called screaming. Nicole was embarrassed at her job. You are dead to me. Don't call. Don't visit. You're not my son anymore. She hung up. Billy found me that evening. You okay? Mom disowned me today. How do you feel? Weirdly okay. Good. She was toxic anyway. I laughed. I don't even feel bad. That's because you finally stopped letting them treat you like garbage. Then came the social media posts. Nicole playing the victim card publicly. Long posts about family betrayal. About how I was suing her over helping me out. About how she'd loaned me money when I needed it, and now I was taking her to court. Wait, what? I clicked through her post. Read it again. She was claiming she'd loaned me money. That I was the one who owed her. That I was taking her to court because she was asking for repayment. I showed Billy. She's lying. Completely lying. Of course she is. She can't admit she's the one who borrowed and didn't pay back. That makes her look bad. But people are believing her. Look at the comments. And they were. Dozens of comments calling me awful names. Saying I was a deadbeat. Saying she should sue me. Let them think what they want, Billy said. You've got the documentation. That's all that matters. She was right, but it still stung. Watching people I'd known my whole life believe Nicole's lies. Then came the petty revenge moment. Nicole had been planning Braden's 13th birthday for months. Big party at some expensive venue. She'd mentioned it constantly, talked about how special it was going to be. I knew from Mom's old texts that the deposit was $800 and Nicole had been making payments. I also knew that venue. Had corporate connections with the owner through work. One of our clients. I didn't do anything dramatic. Didn't cancel her party. But I did have a conversation with the venue owner about some catering services our company might need in the future. Mentioned I wanted to make sure they were reliable, that they followed through on contracts, that they collected payments on time. He got the hint. Called Nicole that week to confirm her final payment was coming. She'd been putting it off, planning to push it back. Suddenly, that wasn't an option. She had to scramble for the money. I heard about it through Dad. She'd been counting on that money for something else. Now she had to pay up or lose the venue. Small victory, but satisfying. The court dates started rolling in. First one was for the transmission loan. $4,500 plus interest. Open and shut. I had the promissory note, the payment schedule, bank records showing the transfer. text from Nicole acknowledging the debt. Nicole showed up with mom. No lawyer. Just mom sitting in the back row glaring at me like I was the devil. Judge reviewed the documents. Asked Nicole if she disputed the debt. It was a family loan, she said. He wasn't supposed to actually collect on it. Did you agree to these payment terms? Yes, but I told him I needed more time. Did you make any payments? She hesitated. 3. 3 payments in 3 years. Judge looked unimpressed. You borrowed the money. You signed a legal document agreeing to pay it back. You stopped making payments without renegotiating the terms. Judgment for the plaintiff. $4,500 plus interest plus court costs. You have 30 days to pay in full or I'll authorize wage garnishment. Nicole started crying. Mom rushed forward to hug her. They both glared at me on the way out. Spencer was waiting in the hallway. How'd it go? I won. Next one's in 2 weeks, right? Yeah. The HVAC loan. $8,200. That one's going to hurt. Good. The second court date went the same way. Judgment in my favor. Nicole showed up, cried, and lost. Dad caught me in the parking lot after. Please stop this. We'll pay it. Your mother and I will pay the loans. Just drop the cases. I stared at him. You've had money this whole time. You could have helped Nicole instead of guilting me. We were saving for retirement. Exactly. Saving your money, spending mine. Nicole pays what she owes, or the judgment stand. You want to help her? Give her the money. I'm not letting her off the hook. He walked away. Then Spencer called me a week later and dropped this bomb. You need to see this, he said. I met him at our usual spot. He had his laptop out, looking serious. What's going on? Remember how you said your sister's been posting on social media about how you borrowed money from her? Yeah, complete lies, but yeah. Well, I got curious. Started digging. You know what I found? He turned his laptop around. Screenshots of Nicole's posts in some private Facebook group. Single mom support group. Posts dating back 2 years. I started reading. My stomach dropped. Post from March 2023. My brother keeps asking me for loans, but I'm barely making it myself. Feeling guilty for saying no, but I have to protect Brayden. Post from September. Brother asked for another $5,000. I gave it to him because family, but this is getting ridiculous. His wife spends money like water. Post from January. I've loaned my brother over $30,000 at this point, and he hasn't paid back a cent. His wife controls all the money and won't let him pay me back. What do I do? Post from June. Brother's wife is toxic. She's turned him against the whole family. Now they're threatening to sue me, even though I'm the one who helped them when they were struggling. I read them twice. 3 times. My hands started shaking. She's been lying, I said slowly. For years. She's been telling people I owed her money. It gets better. Spencer scrolled down. His jaw was tight. Look at this one from 3 weeks ago. Post from 3 weeks ago. Need advice. Brother is taking me to court for loans I supposedly owe him. He has documents, but I'm 90% sure his wife forged them. She's always hated me. How do I fight this? Lawyer said the signatures look real, but I know I never borrowed from him. We helped them. Someone in the comments, get a handwriting expert. If the documents are forged, he's in serious trouble. That's fraud. Nicole's response, can't afford a lawyer or expert. Spent all my money helping him over the years. Now he's destroying me because his wife wants revenge for me speaking the truth about their marriage. I felt rage building. She's been creating a whole false story, making herself the victim while she was robbing me blind. And painting you as the bad guy, Spencer added. Smart, really. She takes your money, tells everyone you took hers, and when you come collecting, she's already set up the story that you're the problem. Can I use this? In court? Maybe. As proof of fraud and deception? Definitely. But here's the thing. This might be enough to file criminal charges. Defamation. This is bigger than civil court. I sat back. I want her buried. Here's what we do. We take these screenshots. We add them to your evidence file, and we use them to pressure her into settling. Full payment, public apology, admission of the debt, or we go after fraud charges. I took the screenshots, sent them to myself, stared at them for a long time. Billy found me at home that night, sitting in my office, surrounded by printouts. What's all this? I told her. Everything. Billy looked at the posts. Her face went hard. She's been telling people I control your money, that I turned you against your family. Yeah, we spent the evening putting together a folder. Every post, every lie, every piece of documentation that proved Nicole was the borrower, not the lender. Bank statements showing transfers from me to her, the promissory notes with her signature, texts from her thanking me for loans. It was airtight. Spencer filed an amended complaint, Added fraud, added defamation, added a demand for public retraction. The amended complaint got served to Nicole at work. Again, she called me an hour later, screaming, hysterical. You can't do this. I never said those things. I have screenshots, Nicole. Silence. You've been lying for years, telling people I owed you money while you were taking mine. I was just venting. I didn't mean... You should have thought about that before you took $64,300 and lied about it. I'll pay you back, I swear. I'll set up payments. Real payments. Just drop the fraud charges. Too late. I hung up. She called back 17 times. I didn't answer. Mom called next. More screaming, begging me to drop it, saying Nicole was having a breakdown. I blocked them all. That night, Billy and I sat on the couch and drank. Caleb came downstairs, rubbing his eyes. Dad, why is Grandma calling the house phone? She is? Yeah. She left a voicemail. She sounds upset. I checked the machine. Sure enough. Mom's voice, tearful and desperate. Ezra, please. Your sister is in crisis. She needs help. She's saying things. Scary things. Please, call me back. I deleted it. Everything okay? Caleb asked. Everything's fine, buddy. Is it about my birthday? Billy and I exchanged looks. Kind of, I said. Why? I heard Aunt Nicole talking to Braden when they were leaving. She said our party was lame. He paused. And she called me not gifted. I heard that part too. I felt that cold rage again. When did you hear that? When I went out to say bye, they were by their car, they didn't see me. Billy turned around in her seat. Caleb, you know she's wrong, right? You're incredibly smart. It's okay, Mom. I know she's mean. Braden is too. He shrugged, but I could see it still hurt. Is that why you're mad at them? Part of it. Go back to your bed, buddy. Let the adults handle it, okay? He nodded and went back to bed. Billy and I sat in silence. The next court date was scheduled for 3 weeks out. The big one. The fraud charges, the defamation claim, everything. Nicole went quiet. No more calls, no more texts, no more social media posts. Her accounts went private. Mom and Dad stopped calling too. I thought maybe they'd finally given up. I was wrong. 2 days before the court date, Nicole showed up at my house. Alone this time. Billy answered the door, saw who it was, and called for me. I came to the door. Nicole looked terrible. Can we talk? She asked. Quiet, broken. Nothing to talk about. See you in court. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Billy gave me a look. I'm not sure what kind. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. What do you want? Ezra. I'll lose my job. They told me if I get convicted of fraud, I'm fired. I'll lose my apartment. I'll lose custody of Braden. I need you to drop the charges. Not happening. I didn't think you'd actually take it this far. You thought wrong. She started crying. I'm sorry, okay? I should have paid you back. I should have been better. But please don't take everything from me. You took $64,300 from me, trashed my wife, let your kid treat my son like garbage, and lied about all of it for years. Why should I give you mercy? Because we're family. No, we're not. Mom and Dad will never forgive you. I don't care. Braden will hate you. I'm fine with that. She wiped her eyes. What do you want? For me to pay you back? I can't. I don't have $64,300. Then you shouldn't have borrowed it. I'll set up payments, real ones this time, $500 a month, every month, for the next 10 years. Just drop the fraud charges. $500 a month doesn't even cover the interest. It's all I can do. Not good enough. She looked at me, and I saw it. The moment she realized she'd lost, that I wasn't backing down, that there was no way out. You've changed, she said quietly. You used to be kind. Yes, I've changed. I went back inside. Court day came. I wore my best suit. Billy came with me. Spencer met us outside. You ready? He asked. More than ready. Nicole showed up with a lawyer. Young, looked fresh out of law school, carrying a briefcase that looked older than he was. He tried to negotiate outside the courtroom, standing in the hallway under lights that made everyone look sick, offered a payment plan and a retraction. Spencer said no. Full judgment or nothing. We went in. The courtroom was small. Nicole sat at the defendant's table picking at her nails. Mom and Dad in the back row, Mom clutching a tissue. The judge reviewed the evidence with reading glasses on. Every page turned felt like a small win. Nicole's lawyer stood up, cleared his throat twice. Your Honor, these posts were taken out of context. My client was venting in a private support group. She never intended to claim counsel. The judge cut him off without looking up. Your client posted multiple times with specific dollar amounts, claiming she loaned money to the plaintiff. The dates of these posts line up with the actual loans going in the opposite direction. That's building a false story. Nicole started crying. The judge wasn't buying it. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff on all counts. Judgment for $68,400 in principal plus interest and court costs. Additional judgment for defamation damages in the amount of $15,000. Ms. Hayes, you have 90 days to pay in full, or I'm authorizing wage garnishment and asset seizure. You're also ordered to issue a public retraction on all platforms where you made false claims about the plaintiff. Failure to do so will result in contempt charges. We're done here. The gavel came down. We walked out. Spencer clapped me on the back. That's how you do it. Billy hugged me. Proud of you. We went home. Ordered takeout. Watched a movie with Caleb. Normal Friday night. My phone buzzed around 9. Text from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed your sister. Destroyed this family. I hope it was worth it. I blocked the number. Another text. Different number. You're going to regret this? We'll never forgive you. Blocked. Then I turned off my phone. The next week, Nicole posted the retraction. Required by the court. A public admission that she'd lied. That I'd loaned her money. That she'd failed to pay it back. That her claims about me borrowing from her were false. The comments were brutal. People calling her a liar. Friends saying they couldn't believe she'd done that. Her support falling apart in real time. Her employer saw it. She was fired within a week, not for the fraud itself, but for the ethics violation of lying about financial matters while working at an insurance company. Mom called Billy, screaming at her, blaming her for everything. Billy let her yell for about 30 seconds, then hung up and blocked the number. Dad sent an email, long, going on about family and forgiveness and how I'd regret this someday. I deleted it. Nicole's wages were garnished. She had to move to a smaller apartment. Braden had to transfer schools. Her car got repossessed again. She was living the life she'd have been living if she'd never had me to bail her out. I didn't feel bad. 6 months passed. The garnishment checks came like clockwork. $287.50 every 2 weeks, taken straight from Nicole's paycheck. I set up a separate account just for them. Never touched the money. Didn't need it. It was the principal. By the end of the year, she'd paid back $7,475. Only $75,925 to go. Her credit score dropped to 480. Bankruptcy declared, but the court judgment survived it. Fraud debts don't get discharged. She temporarily lost custody of Braden after missing too much work. He moved in with Mom and Dad in Tucson. She got him every other weekend if she could afford the gas. I heard about it through distant relatives. Emails with subject lines like, "What you've done," and "Blood is thicker." That's when I realized something. Cutting off my family didn't make me cold or heartless. It made me a better father, a better husband, a better man, because I finally chose the people who deserved my loyalty and left the rest behind. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks. My sister's fiance mocked my little coding hobby and tried getting me a low-level job at his new company while my parents laughed along. Then he looked up the CEO on LinkedIn and his face went white when he saw it was me. Hey Reddit. Growing up, my parents made it very clear which kid mattered and which one didn't. I walked away, built something on my own, and cut contact completely. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Before I explain why, here's how it all started. My name is Aries. I'm in my early 30s now. I run a company that builds security systems for hospitals. I'm married to Ophelia, and we have a kid. That's my life now. This isn't about that. This is about how I left home and why I never went back. I grew up in a house where the clinic was literally attached to the living space. My dad, Harlan, was the doctor. My mom, Vivian, was the nurse and office manager. Patients came and went all day. Phones rang constantly. Charts everywhere. From the outside, it looked impressive. Inside, it was rigid and loud and always about status. By the time I was 12, I was the clinic's IT support. Not officially, obviously. But if the system froze, they called me. If the printer stopped working, they called me. When they upgraded computers, I set them up. I ran cables through walls. I fixed network drops. I cleaned malware off machines that shouldn't have been connected to the internet in the first place. I was never paid or thanked. It was treated like something I should just do. Whenever I tried to explain what I was actually learning, my dad would wave it off. It's just computers, he'd say. My mom would add, it's fine as a hobby. Dinner every night was the same conversation. Medical school rankings, residency programs. Who knew which specialist? Prestige mattered more than anything. It wasn't subtle who all of this was for. My older sister Rosalie was the center of the room. Everything she did was impressive. Every small achievement got praised. If she said she wanted to be a doctor, it was treated like destiny. If I talked about computers, the table went quiet until someone changed the subject. By the time she started medical school, their lawyer had already added her name to the clinic's ownership paperwork. The clinic was never just my parents' job in their eyes. It was Rosalie's inheritance. I wasn't ignored. I was used. By senior year of high school, I already knew I wasn't going to follow their plan. I applied quietly and got accepted into a strong computer science program. When the letter came, I didn't celebrate. I just folded it and waited. A few days later, they sat me down in the living room. Both of them. Rosalie wasn't there. Harlan didn't yell. He didn't have to. "We'll pay for pre-med," he said. That's it. Vivian nodded like this had already been decided. "If you want to play with computers, you can fund that yourself." That was the ultimatum. No negotiation, no curiosity about what I'd been working toward. Either I became what they wanted, or I stopped being their responsibility. So I started working. I freelanced every chance I got. Websites, small scripts, fixing broken systems for local businesses. I didn't sleep much. I saved everything. I built a custom PC piece by piece because I needed something reliable and fast. That machine mattered more to me than anything else in that house. On it, I finished an encryption project I'd been building for months. It wasn't a school assignment. It wasn't theoretical. It was practical and clean, and something I planned to sell to pay for tuition. It lived on that machine. I hadn't backed it up yet. I knew I should have. I was 2 days away from leaving. 2 days before I was supposed to get on the bus, Rosalie walked into my room. She was holding a bottle of dark red liquid. She tripped. That's what everyone called it later. The bottle tipped. The contents poured straight into my PC tower. There was a sound I still remember. A short crackle. Then nothing. The machine was dead. The drives were soaked. I tried anyway. Pulled parts out. Dried what I could. It didn't matter. The data was gone. Something in me snapped. I yelled. Not just at her. At everything. Years of being treated like background noise came out all at once. Rosalie started crying immediately. My parents rushed in. They didn't look at the computer. They didn't ask what was on it. They didn't care how long I'd worked on it. Vivian went straight to Rosalie and held her. "She didn't mean it," she kept saying. Harlan turned to me instead. His face was hard. "You made your sister cry," he said. That's enough. He didn't ask me to calm down. He didn't tell Rosalie to leave. He went to my room, grabbed my bag, and started throwing my stuff into it. Clothes, books, whatever was closest. Then he carried it outside and dropped it on the lawn. "You're 18, he said. "If you're so smart, figure it out." That was it. No discussion, no delay. I packed what was left. I checked my wallet. $40. That was all I had left in cash. The rest was tied to work. I hadn't finished and a project that no longer existed. I didn't say goodbye. No one stopped me. I walked to the bus station with my bag on my shoulder, $40 in my pocket, and a hard drive that might as well have been a brick. That was the day everything I'd built died. It was also the day I finally left. The first year after I left home wasn't dramatic. It was just hard. I worked 3 jobs. None of them were impressive. One was overnight stocking. One was basic tech support for a small office that didn't want to pay a real IT firm. The third changed, depending on who needed help that week. I slept in a rented room with 4 other guys. No lease, no privacy, no guarantee any of us would still be there next month. Nothing felt stable. I carried everything I owned in one bag and learned quickly not to get attached to anything. I didn't have a computer anymore, so I spent most nights at the public library. The computers there were slow and outdated, but they worked. I rebuilt what I could from memory. Some parts of my old project were gone for good. Other parts came back faster than I expected. Writing it again forced me to clean it up. Strip out anything unnecessary. Make it tighter. During the day, I took whatever freelance work I could find. At night, I rewrote code on borrowed machines and saved everything in multiple places. I didn't make that mistake again. It was during that time that I started noticing patterns. Medical offices were careless. Not just my parents' clinic. All of them. Shared passwords, unsecured terminals, outdated systems connected to networks they didn't understand. Patient data sitting on machines with no real protection. Everyone assumed nothing bad would happen because it hadn't yet. They were wrong. I didn't see it as an opportunity at first. It was just something that stood out. The more clinics and small hospitals I worked around, the more obvious it became. They spent millions on equipment and almost nothing on keeping their data safe. That's when I decided to stop freelancing and build something focused. I didn't want my name attached to it, not my real one. I didn't want anything leading back to my parents or their clinic, so I used my middle initial and shortened my last name. A J Vance sounded neutral, professional, forgettable in the best way. I registered Vance Medical Systems under that name. At first, it wasn't much. I pitched small clinics on basic security audits, password policies, access controls, monitoring, things that should have already been in place. The contracts were small, but they mattered. Every one of them paid a bill, or kept me enrolled another semester. I went back to school slowly, paid for classes as I could, took fewer credits when money was tight and more when it wasn't. I didn't tell anyone about my family. It didn't come up. By the time I transferred into a full program, VMS was covering most of my expenses. I wasn't rich. I was careful. The work spread quietly. One clinic talked to another. A hospital administrator asked who had fixed a recent issue before it became a problem. I didn't advertise. I didn't want attention. I wanted control. The systems got better. The contracts got longer. I hired one person, then two. Everyone signed strict agreements. Everyone understood discretion mattered. 5 years after I left home, I finished college. I skipped the ceremony, invited no one, picked up the degree, and went back to work. By then, VMS had moved past small clinics. Regional hospitals started calling, not because of marketing, but because nothing broke after we showed up. Problems got handled before anyone noticed. Most small practices never dealt with us directly. They signed contracts through regional IT firms that slapped their own logos on everything. Our name sat in small print on the back pages, under licensed vendor. Owners skimmed the invoices, saw the local company, and stopped reading. Teaching hospitals came next. Their program directors sat in on our security reviews because losing access to patient records even for a day could cripple their residency programs. I stayed out of the press on purpose. No interviews, no photos. The company website listed the leadership team, but most people didn't look closely. I wanted AJ Vance to exist as a professional entity, not a person anyone felt entitled to. That decision paid off more than once. I met Ophelia during that period. She was a litigator working long hours and didn't ask questions she didn't need answers to. We talked about work, about boundaries, about not letting other people rewrite your life. I told her everything early on, about my parents, about Rosalie, about the name change. She didn't react the way most people did. She just asked what I needed to keep separate and helped make sure it stayed that way. When we got married, nothing changed about the business. She kept her career. I kept mine. We kept our lines clear. By the time VMS became a known name in hospital cybersecurity, my parents were already out of my life completely. I didn't track what they were doing. I didn't need to. I had built something that didn't depend on them and never would. I was stable. The company was solid. My personal life was quiet in a way I'd never had growing up. I stopped thinking about my family at all, right up until the invitation showed up. The state medical gala wasn't something I would have gone to on my own. Events like that never were. Too many people talking over each other. Too much forced politeness. But Vance Medical Systems had just secured a state-level contract for centralized hospital data protection, and this was part of the follow-up. Appearances mattered, so Ophelia and I went. The hotel was the kind that liked reminding you it was expensive. Long red carpet out front, security in suits, photographers catching anyone who looked important enough. Inside, everything was marble, glass, and low lighting. Doctors in tailored jackets, administrators wearing badges that cost more than my first month of rent after I left home. I was there strictly for work. Shake a few hands, exchange cards, leave. I didn't expect anything else. We checked in and walked toward the main lobby, where people were gathering before heading into the ballroom. Conversations overlapped. Someone was already bragging about a new wing opening at their hospital. Someone else complained about staffing shortages, like it was a personal inconvenience. Ophelia leaned in slightly and said, "Want to make a lap and disappear? Let's see who we need to see first," I said. That's when I noticed them. Vivian and Harlan were standing near the entrance, both dressed like they were still trying to prove something. Harlan wore the same posture he always had, chin slightly lifted, shoulders stiff. Vivian was scanning the room, eyes moving quickly, already measuring who mattered. They looked older. Not fragile, just worn around the edges, still playing the same role. And between them was Rosalie. She was dressed in something expensive. I didn't know the brand, but I could tell. Hair done, makeup sharp, the kind of confidence that comes from believing the room owes you attention. She was laughing at something Harlan said, one hand resting lightly on his arm. I stopped walking without realizing it. Ophelia felt it and followed my line of sight. That them? She asked quietly. Yeah, I said. She didn't say anything else. She just nodded once. I considered turning around. Nothing in my schedule required me to be in that exact spot. But before I could move, a man stepped in front of me. Excuse me, he said, holding out his hand. George Miller. I shook it. Aries. He smiled, friendly, already in networking mode. First time here? I don't think we've met. Possibly, I said. I'm with VMS. George nodded, interested. Behind him, my parents were already half tuned out. To them, with VMS might as well have been with it or with some vendor. Anything outside medicine blurred into background noise. His eyes lit up a bit. Ah, well, congratulations. That contract announcement made waves. I'm one of the donors for St. Ravelin. I've been meaning to meet someone from your team. He turned slightly, gesturing behind him. I'd love to introduce you to George. Harlan's voice cut in sharply. He stepped between us like he'd been there the whole time. Vivian followed, her expression already tight. Don't bother, Harlan said, waving a hand dismissively. That's my son. George looked confused. Oh, I didn't realize. He's in IT, Harlan continued. Always has been. He's probably here to fix the Wi-Fi or something. Rosalie smiled like it was a joke everyone was supposed to laugh at. George glanced at me, unsure how to recover. I see. Well, it's fine, I said, keeping my voice even. Harlan looked surprised I spoke at all. Vivian leaned in, lowering her voice like she was doing me a favor. You shouldn't be wandering around like this. People will get the wrong idea. Rosalie tilted her head. Seriously, Aries. This isn't really your scene. Ophelia shifted slightly beside me, but didn't say anything. I could feel her watching everything, filing it away. George cleared his throat. Well, I should be going. Nice meeting you, he said, though his eyes stayed on me a moment longer. He walked off, clearly unsettled. Harlan crossed his arms. What are you doing here? Work, I said. Vivian frowned. What kind of work? Before I could answer, someone called Harlan's name from across the lobby. He turned immediately, the question forgotten. Rosalie glanced between me and Ophelia, her smile tightening. Enjoy the night, she said, like it was a warning. They moved away, already re-entering their world. Ophelia finally spoke once they were gone. They really don't know, do they? No, I said. She nodded again, calm. Okay. We stood there for a moment as the lobby buzzed around us. People passed by without a second glance. Music from the ballroom started up in the distance. Want to leave? She asked. Not yet, I said. We'll finish what we came for. She squeezed my hand once, subtle, then let go. I didn't know it then, but the night wasn't even close to over. We hadn't even made it into the ballroom yet when Rosalie came back. This time, she wasn't alone. She had a man with her, tall and sharp-looking, hair styled carefully, posture stiff in a way that felt practiced. He wore his confidence like it had been drilled into him during rounds. The badge clipped to his jacket read Sean R., with surgical resident printed underneath. Rosalie's hand was wrapped tightly around his arm. There you are, she said, her smile wide and deliberate. I wanted you to meet someone. She turned slightly toward him. This is my fiancé, Sean. Sean nodded once at me, his eyes moving quickly over Ophelia and then back to me. The look lingered just long enough to be noticed. Nice to meet you, he said. His tone was polite but empty. Likewise, I replied. Rosalie didn't wait. She leaned in closer to me, lowering her voice like this was a secret she couldn't wait to share. Sean just got hired at VMS, she said. Full integration team. It's huge. She said it slowly, watching my face for a reaction. He's going places, she added. Real places. Ophelia stayed beside me, calm, her expression unreadable. Sean stepped forward, clearly happy to take over. Yeah, he said, smiling. VMS is kind of the future right now. Everyone in healthcare is talking about it. He laughed lightly. Honestly, it's refreshing to be around people who actually matter in the system. Rosalie nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. Sean turned to me again. So what do you do these days? I run a company, I said. Rosalie let out a small laugh. He means he fixes computers. He's always been into that. Sean chuckled, shaking his head. Hey, someone's got to keep the lights on, right? He glanced at Ophelia, then back at me. Must be nice, though. Low stress. Ophelia raised an eyebrow slightly. I wouldn't call it that. Sean smiled at her, thin and dismissive. You're his wife, right? Yes, she said. Ah, he replied. That explains it. Explains what? Ophelia asked. He waved a hand casually. Supporting roles. Every system has them. Rosalie laughed again, louder this time. See? He's already thinking like an executive. Sean straightened. I'm actually meeting the VMS CEO tonight. Guy's basically a legend. Silent type. Brilliant. Built the whole thing from scratch. He looked at me again. Total opposite of most people who try to get into tech. Rosalie tilted her head toward me. You should hear how competitive it was. They barely take anyone without serious credentials. Ophelia crossed her arms, still composed. And yet you had time to gossip about him before meeting the CEO. Sean smirked. When you're at a certain level, you learn how to multitask. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card, holding it between his fingers. Here, he said, handing it to me. I'll be honest. VMS always needs low-level tech support in new wings. Cabling, troubleshooting, that kind of thing. Rosalie watched closely, pleased. I can put in a word, Sean continued. Get you an interview. Just don't embarrass me. He glanced at Ophelia. And dress professionally. First impressions matter in places like this. Ophelia didn't respond. She didn't need to. I took the card. The logo in the corner caught my eye immediately. Clean lines. Subtle symmetry. The mark I'd approved years ago. Vance Medical Systems. Sean kept talking, unaware. Honestly, he said, it's good you showed up tonight. Networking is everything. You can't stay in the background forever. Rosalie smiled like she'd won something. See, Aries, I told you coming was a good idea. I looked down at the card again. Same font, same branding, same contact template I'd signed off on myself. I folded it once and slid it into my pocket. Thanks, I said. Sean nodded, satisfied. No problem. I like helping people who know their place. Rosalie leaned closer to Ophelia and said quietly, not quiet enough. Must be hard, honestly. Marrying someone with no direction. Ophelia met her eyes. I'm doing fine. Sean checked his watch. I should go find the CEO. Big night. He turned back to me one last time. Think about what I said. They walked off together, Rosalie holding his arm like a trophy. Ophelia exhaled slowly once they were out of earshot. That was something. I pulled the card back out and turned it over. Same logo, same company. My company. I didn't say anything yet, but the night had finally started moving. Sean didn't walk away immediately. After the exchange earlier, he stayed a few steps ahead of Rosalie, scanning the room with that focused look people get when they're hunting for someone important. He kept adjusting his jacket, checking his phone, rehearsing something under his breath. Ophelia leaned closer to me. He's trying to make an impression. I know, I said. A few minutes later, Sean circled back. This time, his tone was different. Less smug, more deliberate. Hey, he said, nodding toward me. Quick thing. Rosalie frowned. What now? Sean ignored her. You said earlier you run a company. What was the name again? I didn't answer right away. He continued, clearly thinking out loud. The CEO of VMS likes to know who's talking about him. Names matter. I don't want to walk up there and sound sloppy. Rosalie laughed. You don't need to explain yourself to him. Sean waved her off. No, I do. That's how this works. He looked at me again. So? Vance Medical Systems, I said. Same one you work for. That's not what I meant, Rosalie snapped. His personal company. The small one. Sean hesitated. What's your name again? Aries, I said. Last name? I gave it to him. Sean nodded slowly. All right, let me just check something. He pulled out his phone, already opening LinkedIn. This time it wasn't defensive, it was practical. He typed quickly, confident this would clear things up. Aries, no result. He frowned slightly, then added a filter. Still nothing useful. Rosalie smirked. See? Sean paused. You said earlier the CEO doesn't like embarrassment. Yes, I said. He looked up at me. You weren't joking. I wasn't. Something in my tone made him look back down at the phone. He deleted the name and typed something else. A J. Vance. The screen loaded. The change in his expression was immediate. He didn't scroll right away. He just stared. Rosalie leaned in, impatient. What are you doing? Sean swallowed and turned the phone slightly away from her, like he needed a second. Then he scrolled. The profile photo filled the screen. Clean background. Neutral expression. The same face he'd been talking to all night. The title sat right under it. Founder and CEO. Vance Medical Systems verified. His thumb froze mid-scroll. Sean? Rosalie said. What is it? She leaned in and saw the screen. She laughed. Oh my God, that's fake. Vivian had moved closer again, drawn by the tension. What's going on now? Harlan followed, irritation already written on his face. Sean didn't answer right away. He scrolled again, slower this time. Company timeline, board roles, industry affiliations, all consistent. This is verified, he said quietly. Vivian's expression hardened. Anyone can fake those things. No, Sean said. Not like this. Harlan snapped. Are you saying my son? I'm saying the CEO's profile matches him, Sean said, cutting himself off mid-sentence. Rosalie shook her head. You're letting him mess with you. I'm not, Sean said. I'm checking. He opened the company page directly. Same logo, same branding. Leadership section. There it was again. The room seemed to tighten around us. I didn't say anything. Sean looked up at me slowly. You're AJ Vance. Yes, I said. Rosalie scoffed. You really expect us to believe that? Vivienne stepped forward. This is inappropriate. You've caused enough trouble tonight. I didn't bring this up, I said. He did. Harlan pointed at me. You've always had an issue with pretending you're more important than you are. Sean's voice was barely steady now. Sir, this isn't pretending. He turned the phone toward them. Harlan glanced at the screen and frowned. So what? Someone used his picture. Look at the verification, Sean said. Look at the endorsements. Vivian's mouth tightened. This is ridiculous. Sean looked back at me. I told you I was meeting the CEO tonight. You are? I said. Rosalie took a step back. Stop it. Sean's breathing had changed. Shorter now. I offered you a job. Yes, I said. A low-level one, he added, almost embarrassed to say it out loud. Yes. He stared at the phone again. I spoke for you. Yes. Silence settled in. People nearby were starting to notice, even if they didn't understand why. Rosalie's voice cracked. Say something. Tell him this is a joke. I didn't. Vivienne looked between us. Aries. I met her eyes. You don't get to call me that anymore. Rosalie stood there, pale and shaking, staring at me like the room had tilted and never settled back. And we still hadn't even made it into the ballroom. The flow of guests shifted as the doors to the ballroom opened. Music drifted out, low and formal. A few people glanced our way, sensing something was off. That's when the attention changed. A man in a dark suit approached from the opposite side of the lobby, moving with purpose. People stepped aside for him without thinking. Conversations paused and restarted after he passed. Ophelia leaned toward me. That's him, isn't it? I nodded. Yes. The state health secretary stopped in front of me and smiled. AJ, he said, extending his hand. There you are. I was wondering when I'd run into you. I shook his hand. Good evening. Congratulations, he continued, loud enough for those nearby to hear. The final review cleared this morning. We're ready to sign the contract whenever you are. Sean froze. Vivienne's mouth opened slightly, then closed again. Harlan's face drained of color. The secretary glanced around, noticing the tension. I hope I'm not interrupting. No, I said. Just catching up. He followed my line of sight to my parents and Rosalie. Family? I nodded once. Yes. Rosalie's hands were shaking now. She tried to hide them by clasping them together, but it didn't work. Her eyes flicked between me and the secretary, like she was trying to wake up from something. Well, the secretary said, smiling politely at them. You must be proud. Vance Medical Systems has become a cornerstone of the state's healthcare infrastructure. Vivienne didn't respond. Harlan swallowed hard. The secretary turned back to me. I'll see you inside, AJ. I'll be there shortly, I said. As he walked away, the space around us felt suddenly too open. No one spoke for a moment. Then Sean broke the silence. Secretary, he said. Too late. The man didn't turn back. Rosalie finally found her voice. You planned this, she said, pointing at me. I didn't, I replied. Vivienne stepped forward. You let us make fools of ourselves. You did that on your own, I said. Harlan's voice was tight. You could have said something earlier. I didn't need to. Sean cleared his throat. AJ. I raised a hand slightly, stopping him. I'm going to be clear, I said, keeping my voice steady. You work for VMS. You were hired based on your credentials. That doesn't change. He nodded quickly. Of course. But, I continued, your offer included a leadership track. Rosalie looked up sharply. What offer? Sean glanced at her, then back at me. That part is revoked, I said. Effective immediately. His face fell. Because of what I said? Because of how you said it, I replied. And who you said it to? I didn't know, he said. You assumed, I said. That matters here. Rosalie stepped between us. You can't do that. He earned that position. I can, I said. And I just did. Sean looked like he wanted to argue, then thought better of it. I understand, he said quietly. I turned to Harlan. Your clinic is 3 months behind on its VMS licensing fees, I said. You should check your portal. Vivienne stiffened. We pay our bills. The invoices say otherwise, I replied. Your access is still active, but that won't last. Harlan clenched his jaw. You're threatening us. No, I said. I'm informing you. Rosalie laughed weakly. This is unbelievable. It's accurate, I said. I felt Ophelia's hand brush my arm, not pulling me away, just reminding me she was there. I think we're done here, I said. Vivian looked like she wanted to say something else. Apologize, maybe? Or accuse me again. Nothing came out. Sean stepped back, giving me space. I'll be ready Monday, he said. Yes, I replied. You start Monday. He nodded once. I turned and walked away. Ophelia matched my pace without a word. We didn't rush. We didn't look back. As we passed into the ballroom, conversations resumed around us like nothing had happened. Music swelled. Glasses clinked. Hours later, when we finally stepped back outside, the doors closed softly behind us. Ophelia exhaled as we reached the car. That was worse than I expected. It's over, I said. For tonight, she replied. She was right, but the lines had been drawn, and everyone involved finally knew where they stood. We drove away without saying anything else. 2 weeks after the gala, my assistant forwarded me an email marked urgent. It wasn't from my parents directly. It was from a small regional IT firm asking if Vance Medical Systems was aware of a breach affecting one of our licensed clinics. The clinic address looked familiar. I ignored the emails and logged into the internal dashboard instead. Their system was locked, not partially, fully. Patient records inaccessible. Scheduling down, billing frozen. The clinic portal showed repeated failed authentication attempts followed by a hard lock. Whoever hit them knew exactly where to push. It wasn't subtle and it wasn't random. By the end of the day, 3 more emails came in. One from the same firm. One from a medical supply vendor asking why orders were failing. One from a hospital administrator who worked near their clinic, asking quietly if I knew what was going on. Even then, I did not reach out. They came to me the next morning. My office is on the top floor of a glass building downtown. Clean. Quiet. No plaques on the wall, no family photos out front, just space and light. Security checked them in before I even knew they were there. My assistant knocked once. Your family is here. I nodded. Send them in. Vivian, Harlan, and Rosalie walked in together. They looked different than they had at the gala. Not dressed down, exactly, but worn. Vivian's posture was tense. Harlan looked tired in a way I'd never seen growing up. Rosalie kept glancing around the office like she was trying to find something solid to hold on to. No one sat until I did. Harlan spoke first. We need help. Vivian jumped in quickly. Our systems are down, completely. Patients can't be seen. Records are locked. Rosalie's voice cracked. They're saying we could lose accreditation. I waited. We know we're behind on licensing, Vivian said. We meant to fix that. They'd signed with us through a local IT company years ago. Their logo was the one on the door stickers and the invoices in big letters. Vance Medical Systems was a line item in the middle of the contract. Small font, buried between hardware serial numbers and service codes. They'd never bothered to read that far. Harlan nodded. This is bigger than that. This is an attack. Yes, I said. It is. Rosalie stepped forward. You can fix this. You have to. Sit, I said. They sat. Vivian clasped her hands together. We wouldn't be here if we had another option. You do, I said. Several. Harlan frowned. Not like this. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then Vivian tried a different angle. We're your parents. I looked at her. You're the owners of a clinic that violated its licensing agreement. Rosalie's eyes filled. If the clinic shuts down, my residency, that's not my responsibility, I said. Harlan leaned forward. You don't understand what this will do to us. I understand exactly what it will do, I replied. Vivian's voice softened. We raised you. I didn't respond. Rosalie wiped her face. We made mistakes, but this is too far. This, I said, is the result of choices. Harlan exhaled sharply. So you're just going to watch us lose everything? No, I said. I'm going to make an offer. I pressed a button on my desk. My assistant entered and placed a folder in front of me. I slid it across the table. Vivian opened it first. She read silently for a few seconds, then looked up. What is this? A purchase agreement, I said. Vance Medical Systems will acquire the clinic. Harlan flipped through the pages. This valuation is accurate, I said, given your current exposure. Rosalie leaned in. You're buying it? Yes. Vivian shook her head. For this price? That's nothing. It's what it's worth today, I said. Tomorrow it will be less. Harlan's jaw tightened. And if we don't sign? Then I don't intervene, I said. Your systems remain locked. Regulators step in. The outcome is out of my hands. Rosalie looked at Vivian. Mom! Vivian raised a hand to stop her. She scanned the document again. What happens to us? You retire, I said. Both of you. Immediately. Harlan looked like he wanted to argue, then stopped. And the staff? Retained, I said. Under new management. Rosalie flipped to the last page. And me? I met her eyes. After this, Your program director will formalize a transfer. Her face drained. Transfer where? To a rural hospital, I said. They are short on residents and very motivated to keep our system stable. You will finish your training there. That's punishment, she said. It's placement, I replied. Vivian's voice rose. You're tearing our family apart. There hasn't been a family in a long time, I said. Harlan leaned back in his chair. You planned this? No, I said. I prepared for it. The room went quiet again. Vivian closed the folder slowly. If you fix the systems, I will, I said. Immediately after signing, Rosalie stood up. You can't expect us to agree to this. Harlan stood as well, pacing once, then stopping. We don't have a choice. Vivian stared at the papers. Her hands were shaking now. You could have just helped. I am helping, I said. She looked up at me. By taking everything. By stabilizing it, I said. Rosalie sank back into her chair. This ruins me. No, I said. It humbles you. Harlan rubbed his face. If we sign, this ends today? Yes. And the attack? Vivian asked. Contained within the hour, I said. Systems restored. Data intact. They looked at each other. No one apologized. No one asked for forgiveness. Vivian reached for the pen. She hesitated, then signed. Harlan followed. Rosalie stared at the signature line for a long time before adding her name. I stood and pressed the button on my desk again. Execute the response plan. My assistant nodded and left. Vivian closed her eyes. So that's it? Yes, I said. They stood slowly, like their legs weren't sure anymore. Harlan paused at the door. You always were stubborn. I didn't answer. They left without looking back. An hour later, the clinic's systems were live again. Orders resumed, schedules unlocked. Regulators were notified of the ownership change. I went home on time that day. Ophelia was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with our daughter, helping her color. You okay? She asked. Yes, I said. She nodded and went back to the crayons. 3 months after the buyout, the clinic reopened under the VMS name. New staff, new systems, new policies. The old signage came down in one afternoon. Rosalie reported to her rural residency the following week. Vivian and Harlan turned in their badges and left the building quietly. I did not attend the reopening. I spent the morning taking my daughter to school, then went back to work. Around noon, Ophelia dropped off lunch, left it on my desk, kissed my cheek, and headed to court. The clinic ran smoothly. The calls slowed. The paperwork cleared, and life moved forward. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks. My brother said, "Why would anyone date you?" In front of the girl I brought home. She left. I left too. Left behind every family obligation I'd been carrying for a decade. His tuition help vanished. He called it petty. I called it consequence. Hey, Reddit. My younger brother humiliated me in front of the first woman I'd brought home in years. She walked out. So did I. And I took every single thing I'd been providing for the last decade with me. What happened next was absolutely nuclear. I'm 32 male, an electrical engineer at a power company in Ohio. Started as a field technician right out of community college. Worked my way through night classes for my bachelor's degree, then my master's. Took me 8 years total, but I got there without debt because I was working full-time the entire way through. Now I make around $95,000 managing infrastructure projects. Not rich, but comfortable. Own my house outright in a decent suburb. Drive a paid-off truck. Got a solid retirement account going. Everything I have, I built myself from nothing. My younger brother Liam is 27 and has been the family golden child since birth. Kid could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. When he got suspended from high school for cheating on finals, they blamed the teacher for making the test too hard. When he wrecked mom's car doing donuts in a parking lot, they said the lot should have better signage. Meanwhile, I got grounded for coming home 10 minutes late from my part-time job at the hardware store because I'd helped an elderly customer load plywood into her truck. The contrast was always obvious, but I didn't realize how deep it ran until I was out of the house and could see the whole picture clearly. Liam got a car for his 16th birthday. I got a lecture about responsibility and had to buy my own junker with money I'd saved from mowing lawns. Liam's college was fully funded by our parents, plus a generous monthly allowance for expenses. My college fund mysteriously disappeared the year I graduated high school. Dad explained they'd had some unexpected expenses with the house, but I later found out they'd actually used it for a down payment on a rental property they planned to give Liam eventually. So I worked full-time as an apprentice electrician during the day and took classes at community college at night. Lived in a basement apartment that was basically a concrete box with a hot plate and a bathroom that didn't have a working fan. ate a lot of ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. My parents never offered to help, never asked how I was managing, just assumed I'd figure it out because I always had before. When I finally got my bachelor's degree at 26, the family dinner celebration lasted about 15 minutes before the conversation shifted to Liam's upcoming graduation from State University and all his exciting opportunities. He'd graduated with a 2.7 GPA in business administration and no job prospects, but they acted like he'd cured cancer. I'd graduated with a 3.9 in electrical engineering while working 40 hours a week and had a job offer starting at $62,000. Got a handshake from Dad and a good job before Mom started talking about Liam's graduation party plans. The financial support I've provided over the years is staggering when I actually add it up. Started small, covering Liam's car insurance when he was 19 because he'd gotten into 3 accidents and the rates were insane. That was $200 a month. Parents asked if I could help out temporarily. Temporarily turned into 4 years. Then came the rent assistance when Liam moved into an apartment near campus for his senior year. Place was $1,200 monthly, and my parents could only cover $800. Could I chip in the difference? Just until he graduated and got a job. Another year and a half at $400 monthly. After graduation, Liam moved back home but needed help with his car payment while he searched for the right position. Nothing was quite good enough. The hours were too long, the starting salary was insulting, the office culture didn't align with his values. Meanwhile, I was covering his $350 car payment every month because defaulting would hurt the whole family's credit. The support kept expanding. Cell phone bill, student loan minimums, car insurance, health insurance copays, gym membership because he needed to stay healthy while job hunting. Each request came with the same justification. Just temporary, just until he got on his feet, just this once. I kept a spreadsheet because I'm an engineer, and that's what we do. Over 6 years, I'd paid approximately $73,000, supporting Liam's lifestyle while he bounced between entry-level jobs he considered beneath him. The worst part was how they treated my contributions. Never a real thank you. Never acknowledgement of the sacrifice. My parents acted like I was just doing what families do, as if it was my responsibility to bankroll my younger brother's extended adolescence. When I bought my house at 28, Dad actually seemed annoyed that I was moving further away. Not proud that his son had achieved something significant, but inconvenienced that I wouldn't be as readily available for family stuff. Translation: available to write checks whenever Liam needed something. The house was a huge milestone for me. 3-bedroom ranch style in a quiet neighborhood, big garage for my workshop, decent yard. I'd saved the down payment over 4 years by living in that basement apartment way longer than I needed to. Finally had something that was completely mine. My parents visited exactly once. Spent the entire time talking about how Liam was thinking about getting his MBA, and wouldn't it be great if I could help with application fees since I understood the value of education. I started dating again about a year ago. Work had been consuming everything and I'd basically forgotten how to have a social life. Joined a hiking group, started going to brewery trivia nights, actually made an effort to meet people. That's where I met Sophie. She worked as a project coordinator for a construction firm, loved the outdoors, had a sharp sense of humor that caught me off guard in the best way. We'd been seeing each other for 3 months, and things were going really well. Sophie knew I came from a complicated family, but I hadn't shared the full extent of the dysfunction. Hard to explain to someone that your parents treat you like an ATM while worshiping your unemployed younger brother without sounding bitter or making excuses. When she asked about meeting my family, I hesitated. Tried to explain they were difficult, but she'd grown up in a big, loving family and didn't quite get what I meant. Thought I was probably exaggerating or being overly sensitive. Figured the best way to show her was just to let her experience it firsthand. Big mistake. I invited everyone over for dinner on a Saturday, made a nice meal, cleaned the house thoroughly, tried to prepare Sophie for the fact that my family dynamic was weird but she shouldn't take it personally. My parents arrived first. Mom immediately started rearranging things in my kitchen and commenting on my furniture choices. Dad planted himself on the couch and turned on a sports game without asking. Normal behavior for them. Liam showed up 20 minutes late in a new jacket I definitely hadn't seen before, probably bought with money he didn't have. He'd been living at home rent-free since his latest job hadn't worked out, which according to him was due to management not recognizing his potential. Dinner started okay. Sophie was making an effort, asking questions, trying to be friendly. My parents were polite but distant, clearly sizing her up and finding her lacking based on some invisible criteria they'd never shared. Then Liam started doing what Liam does best, making everything about himself. Launched into a long story about a business idea he was developing, Some app concept that would revolutionize how people network professionally. Had all these grand plans but zero understanding of how to actually build an app or run a business. Sophie asked some reasonable questions about his development timeline and funding strategy. Basic stuff anyone would ask about a business plan. Liam got defensive, said she clearly didn't understand the vision, started using buzzwords he'd probably learned from LinkedIn posts. The conversation moved on. I mentioned a project I was managing at work, a significant infrastructure upgrade that was pretty complex. Sophie seemed genuinely interested, asked smart questions about the engineering challenges involved. Mom cut me off mid-sentence to ask Liam if he needed new dress clothes for interviews. He said yes, and she immediately offered to take him shopping with money from the household budget. Meanwhile, I was sitting there having bought my own interview clothes with money I'd earned since I was 16. After dinner, we moved to the living room. Sophie complimented the photos I had displayed, asked about a hiking trip I'd taken to Colorado. I was explaining the route we'd done when Liam interrupted. He looked at Sophie, then at me, then back at Sophie with this expression of exaggerated confusion. What came out of his mouth next changed everything. I've been wondering something all night. Why would anyone actually want to date him? Like, what's the appeal? He's boring. He works too much. And he's basically just old and settled. You seem way too interesting for this. The room went completely silent. Sophie's face went from confused to shocked to deeply uncomfortable in about 3 seconds. My mom made this weird nervous laugh sound but didn't say anything to defend me. Dad kept looking at his phone like he hadn't heard anything. I just sat there for a moment, processing what had happened. My younger brother had just humiliated me in front of a woman I cared about, in my own house, and my parents were acting like this was totally normal behavior. Sophie stood up, said she wasn't feeling well and needed to leave. Didn't even look at me, just grabbed her bag and headed for the door. I walked her out, tried to apologize, but she was already pulling away emotionally. Could see it in her body language. She got in her car and left without saying she'd call me. Just a quick wave and gone. I stood in my driveway watching her taillights disappear, then turned around and walked back inside. Liam was laughing with Mom about something on his phone. Dad had gone back to the game. Nobody acknowledged what had just happened. That's when something in me just broke. Not loud, not dramatic. Just this quiet realization that I was done. I walked past everyone, went to my home office, and pulled up my spreadsheet. The one tracking every dollar I'd spent supporting Liam over the years. Added up the pending commitments, his car insurance payment due next week, the dental work he needed that I'd agreed to cover, the security deposit for an apartment he wanted to rent. Then I started making calls. First to the car insurance company. Removed myself as the policy payer effective immediately. Next to the auto loan company. I wasn't a co-signer, so I couldn't affect the loan itself, but I stopped the automatic payment I'd been making from my account. Called the dental office and canceled the appointment scheduled for Liam the following Tuesday. Sent a text to the landlord he'd been talking to about the apartment. Said the deposit wouldn't be coming from me after all. By the time I walked back out to the living room, I'd methodically removed myself from every financial obligation I'd created for my brother over the last 6 years. They were still sitting there like nothing had happened. Liam was showing Dad something on his phone. Mom was texting someone. I stood in the doorway and cleared my throat. All three looked up. I need everyone to leave now. Mom looked confused. What? We were going to watch a movie. I brought that new one from the library. Everyone needs to leave. Right now. Dad finally seemed to realize something was wrong. What's your problem? You've been weird all night. I looked at Liam. You humiliated me in front of Sophie. In my own house. Said things specifically designed to make her question why she'd want to be with me. And none of you said a word. Liam actually rolled his eyes. Oh, come on, I was joking around. If she can't handle some family banter, she's too sensitive anyway. You should thank me for helping you dodge that. That word, banter. Like casually destroying someone's relationship was just good-natured family fun. Get out, all of you, now. They finally registered I was serious. Mom started gathering her things while complaining about me being too sensitive. Dad muttered something about not knowing what my problem was. Liam took his time getting up, making a show of being inconvenienced. As they headed for the door, Liam turned back. So I guess you're not covering my insurance payment next week? Kind of short notice to figure something else out. I looked at him. I'm not covering anything for you ever again. Not insurance, not car payments, not dental work, not apartment deposits. You're on your own. He laughed like I was joking. Dude, seriously? You're throwing a tantrum because your girlfriend couldn't take a joke? Sophie left because you deliberately embarrassed me. That wasn't a joke. That was cruelty. And I just realized I've been funding your entire lifestyle while you treat me like garbage. Mom tried to smooth things over. Let's not make decisions when everyone's emotional. We can talk about this tomorrow when everyone's calmed down. There's nothing to talk about. I've been supporting Liam financially for 6 years. That ends today. He's an adult. He can figure out his own life. Dad finally engaged. You're really going to abandon your brother over hurt feelings? That's pretty selfish. The word hit me like a physical blow. Selfish. I'd spent $73,000 supporting my brother, and I was selfish for stopping. Everyone out. Don't come back unless you're invited. They left. Liam was still trying to laugh it off like this was temporary. My parents looked annoyed at the inconvenience. None of them understood what had just happened. I closed the door behind them, locked it, and pulled out my phone. Sophie's text was waiting. I don't think this is going to work out. Your family is really intense and I can't deal with that kind of dynamic. I'm sorry. Short, direct, final. I sat on my couch in the house I'd worked so hard to buy. In the quiet I'd worked so hard to achieve, and felt absolutely nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a cold, empty clarity. For the first time in a decade, I didn't have any obligations to my family. No payments to make, no sacrifices to plan for, no expectations to meet. I was completely free, and it felt amazing. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and about 40 text messages. Most from Liam, some from my parents, all variations on the same theme. I was overreacting, being dramatic, needed to calm down and think reasonably about what I was doing. Liam's messages escalated from confused to angry. Dude, what's going on? Insurance company called saying the payment didn't go through. Seriously, you need to fix this. The loan people are saying I'm behind on payments. This is ridiculous. You're really going to screw me over because I made one joke? Mom and Dad are freaking out. Call them back. You're being a huge jerk about this. I said sorry. He hadn't said sorry. Not once. Not when Sophie left. Not when I told them to leave. Not in any of the messages. He said the words, I said sorry, but he hadn't actually apologized. My mom's texts were more manipulative. Honey, I know you're upset, but please don't make rash decisions that will hurt your brother. He depends on you. Your father and I think you're having some kind of crisis. Maybe you should talk to someone. Liam is really stressed about the insurance situation. Can you at least cover this month while he figures out alternatives? Dad kept it shorter. Call me. We need to discuss your responsibilities to this family. I didn't respond to any of them. Just went about my Sunday routine. Went to the gym. Worked on a project in my garage. Meal prepped for the week. Normal stuff. Around noon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. It was the landlord Liam had been talking to about the apartment. Professional guy. Just wanted to confirm the deposit situation since Liam was saying there'd been a miscommunication. I explained clearly. I wouldn't be providing any deposit money. Liam was an adult who needed to fund his own housing. If he couldn't afford the deposit, he couldn't afford the apartment. The landlord thanked me for the clarity and hung up. 5 minutes later, Liam called screaming about how I'd sabotaged his housing opportunity. Didn't answer. Monday came and I went to work like normal. Managed my projects, had meetings, reviewed technical specifications, came home, made dinner, caught up on shows. Nobody from my family tried to visit, which was smart because I wouldn't have answered the door. Tuesday morning brought a new development. My mom showed up at my workplace, actually came to the office building and asked reception to get me, saying it was a family emergency. I came down to the lobby and found her looking distressed but also annoyed. The combination of genuine worry and frustration that I was causing her inconvenience. We need to talk about what you're doing to your brother, she started. I'm not doing anything to him. I'm just not doing things for him anymore. There's a difference. He can't afford his car payment without your help. The insurance lapsed because you didn't pay it. He's going to lose everything. He's going to have to figure it out like every other adult does. Get a job that pays enough, cut expenses, make it work. That's what I did. She looked at me like I was speaking another language. But you have the money. Why wouldn't you help your own brother? Because he stood in my living room and humiliated me in front of someone I cared about. Because he's never once thanked me for 6 years of support. Because I'm tired of funding his lifestyle while he contributes nothing. It was a joke. Why are you being so sensitive? That word again. Sensitive. Like having boundaries and self-respect was some kind of character flaw. Mom, I need you to leave. I'm at work and this isn't the place for this conversation. When is the place? You won't answer your phone. You won't respond to messages. You're shutting everyone out. I'm not shutting everyone out. I'm setting boundaries. If you and Dad want a relationship with me, it needs to be one where I'm treated with respect and not viewed as a funding source for Liam's extended adolescence. He's your brother. Family helps family. I helped him for 6 years. He responded by destroying my relationship for entertainment. We're done here. I walked away. Heard her calling after me but didn't turn around. Security probably wasn't thrilled about the scene, but nobody stopped me. That evening, Dad called. Didn't answer. He left a voicemail using his stern, authoritative voice, the one he pulled out when he wanted to remind everyone he was the patriarch. The message was classic Dad. Disappointed tone, mention of family values, questioning my character, statement that I was making a mistake I'd regret, demand that I call him back to discuss this reasonably. Deleted it without responding. Wednesday brought the first real consequence. Liam's car got repossessed from the driveway at my parents' house. He'd missed 2 payments and the bank wasn't playing around. The family group chat exploded. I was still in it but had muted notifications. Checked it that evening and found this whole dramatic thread about the repo. How traumatic it was. How the neighbors saw everything. How this was all my fault for abandoning Liam when he needed me most. My mom actually wrote, "I hope you're happy. Your brother is devastated and it's your fault." My fault? I'd paid his car payment for years, and the one time he had to cover it himself, he didn't. But that was my fault somehow. I left the group chat. Didn't need that negativity in my life. Thursday, Liam tried a different approach. Showed up at my house in the evening. I watched him through the window trying to look pitiful on my front porch. Didn't answer the door. He knocked for 10 minutes. Tried calling while standing on the porch so I could see he was there. Eventually gave up and left. Found a note stuck to my door. "We need to talk. I get that you're mad, but this has gone too far? I lost my car because of you. Call me." Threw the note away. Friday evening, my dad tried visiting. More serious, more frustrated. Demanded I open the door because we needed to have a man-to-man conversation about responsibility. I opened the door and stood in the doorway, not inviting him in. "You're making a huge mistake," he started. "Your brother needs help and you're abandoning him over something trivial." Nothing about what happened was trivial. And Liam's an adult. He doesn't need help. He needs to help himself. You have no idea how hard it is for young people today. The job market, the economy, everything's different from when you started out. I started out 8 years ago, Dad. The market wasn't that different. I just worked harder and didn't expect everyone else to fund my lifestyle. So you're punishing your brother for not being exactly like you? I'm not punishing him at all. I'm just not supporting him anymore. If that feels like punishment, maybe that says something about how dependent he's been on money he didn't earn. Dad's face was getting red. You're being selfish and short-sighted. Family takes care of each other. I took care of him for 6 years. Now it's his turn to take care of himself. And what about your mother? You're breaking her heart with this stubborn attitude. Mom's heart is broken because her adult son has to be financially responsible for the first time in his life? That's not my problem. Dad's fist clenched, and for a second I thought he might actually try something physical. But he just pointed at me with shaking hand. You're going to regret this. When you need family someday, don't come crawling back expecting help. I've never needed help from this family. I've been the one helping. That's kind of the whole point. He left without another word, stormed off to his car and peeled out of my driveway, like a teenager having a tantrum. That weekend was the first in months where I had absolutely nothing I had to do for anyone else. No bills to pay for Liam, no family obligations, no expectations to manage. I went on a long bike ride Saturday morning, worked on restoring an old radio in my garage Saturday afternoon. Sunday, I drove up to a state park and hiked 8 miles, without thinking about anything except the trail and the trees. It was the most relaxed I'd felt in years. Monday brought a new player into the situation. My Aunt Karen, Mom's sister, called. She was the family mediator, always trying to smooth over conflicts and get everyone to reconcile. Your mother called me in tears, she started. What's going on with you and Liam? I gave her the brief version. The dinner, the humiliation, the decision to stop providing financial support, the family's reaction. Okay, she said slowly. I can see why you're upset. But don't you think cutting him off completely is a bit extreme? He's your brother. He's an adult who's been living off my support while treating me like trash. This isn't extreme, it's overdue. Your mom says he's really struggling without your help. Lost his car, can't afford his apartment deposit, behind on payments. Don't you feel any responsibility for that? I feel zero responsibility for the natural consequences of his choices. He had 6 years to get his life together while I paid his bills. He chose not to. But family helps family through hard times. I helped him through 6 years of hard times. At some point, it stops being hard times and starts being a lifestyle choice. Aunt Karen tried a few more angles, but I wasn't budging. Eventually, she gave up and said she hoped I'd reconsider before doing permanent damage to these relationships. After I hung up, I realized something important. Everyone kept saying family helps family, but it only seemed to flow one direction. I'd been helping Liam for years. He'd never helped me with anything. Not when I was working 2 jobs to get through college. Not when I was saving for my house. Not with anything. The help was supposed to go from me to him, forever, without question or appreciation. That wasn't family helping family. That was exploitation with a guilt trip attached. 3 weeks after the dinner disaster, things escalated in a direction I didn't expect. Liam had apparently been applying for jobs frantically, trying to find something that paid enough to cover his expenses, now that I wasn't subsidizing everything. The problem was his resume showed a work history of short stints at entry-level positions, followed by long gaps of unemployment. He'd been using me as a reference without asking. 3 different companies called me for verification. Each time, I told the truth. Yes, I knew Liam. Yes, he was my brother. No, I couldn't speak to his work ethic or reliability. No, I wouldn't recommend him for the position. When they asked why, I simply said we weren't close, and I didn't feel comfortable vouching for someone I didn't know professionally. The call stopped after the 3rd one. Liam sent me a message. Are you seriously sabotaging my job prospects now? How low are you going to go? I wasn't sabotaging anything. I just wasn't lying for him. There's a difference. But apparently telling the truth counted as sabotage in his mind. Just like stopping financial support counted as abandonment. Just like having boundaries counted as being selfish. By week 4, my parents' strategy shifted. Instead of trying to guilt me into compliance, they started spreading their version of events to extended family. According to them, I'd abandoned my struggling brother over a minor disagreement and was refusing to help despite having plenty of money. Got calls from various relatives. Most bought my parents' story initially, but when I explained what actually happened, the reactions split pretty evenly. Half thought I should forgive and forget because family. Half thought Liam had it coming and my parents were enabling him. My uncle on dad's side, who'd built his own business from nothing, was firmly in my camp. Good for you, he said. Kid needs to learn nobody owes him a living. Your parents should have taught him that 10 years ago. Cousin Emma, who'd always been close with Liam, thought I was being cruel. He's family. You're supposed to be there for him no matter what. I told her she was welcome to start paying his bills if she felt that strongly about it. She got quiet and changed the subject. The social dynamics were fascinating to watch from the outside. Everyone had opinions about what I should do with my money and how I should handle my relationship with my brother. Nobody seemed to think Liam had any responsibility for the situation he'd created. 6 weeks after the dinner, I ran into Sophie at the grocery store. Wasn't expecting it and had about 3 seconds to prepare before she saw me too. Hey, she said, looking uncomfortable. Hey. Awkward silence while we both pretended to be very interested in produce. How have you been? She finally asked. Good. Better, actually. How about you? I'm okay. Look, I'm sorry about how I handled that whole situation. Your brother was really out of line that night. He was. But I get why you left. It was a lot. Did you guys work it out? Not exactly. I cut them off financially and stopped talking to them. Turns out that was the best decision I've made in years. She looked surprised. Seriously? You're not supporting him anymore? Nope. He's on his own. How did your parents take that? About as well as you'd expect. Lots of calls, lots of guilt trips, lots of accusations about being selfish. But I'm good with my decision. She smiled slightly. Good. That took courage. We talked for a few more minutes. She was seeing someone new, seemed happy. I was genuinely glad for her. She deserved someone without my family's baggage. As we said goodbye, she stopped and turned back. For what it's worth, I don't think you're boring. Your brother was completely wrong about that. You're one of the most interesting people I've met. The problem wasn't you, it was them. That felt good to hear. Not enough to undo the damage, but good. 2 months after I cut everyone off, Liam finally got a job. Nothing glamorous, just an assistant manager position at a retail store. Paid about $35,000 a year, which was barely enough to survive on, but it was something. Heard about it through the family grapevine. My parents were apparently throwing him a celebration dinner, like he'd just made CEO of a Fortune 500 company. The bar was so low for him, it was practically underground. With a steady income, he could technically survive now. Wouldn't be comfortable, would probably need roommates, couldn't afford the lifestyle he wanted, but he could survive. My mom called to tell me the good news and suggest this might be a good time to reconcile since Liam wouldn't need my financial help anymore. So now that he doesn't need my money, I should come back, I said. Don't be like that. He's trying to turn his life around. Good for him. That doesn't change what he did or how all of you reacted. Are you really going to hold a grudge forever? I'm not holding a grudge. I'm just not interested in being treated like an ATM while getting disrespected. If that's holding a grudge, then I guess I am. She hung up frustrated. The thing was, even with a job, Liam was apparently still struggling. 35,000 in a decent-sized city doesn't go far when you're used to having someone else subsidize your lifestyle. Heard through my uncle that Liam had tried getting an advance on his paycheck after 2 weeks because he couldn't make rent. Part of me felt bad. Small part. The rest of me remembered standing in my driveway watching Sophie drive away after my brother humiliated me for entertainment. 3 months in, my parents tried a new tactic. Dad invited me to lunch, just the two of us. Said he wanted to talk without everyone else involved, see if we could find some common ground. I agreed, mostly curious about what angle he'd try next. We met at a chain restaurant, the kind where everything comes from frozen and the decor tries too hard to be nostalgic. Dad was already there, looking older than I remembered. Stress was showing in his face. "Thanks for coming," he started. "I know things have been tough. For you and Liam, maybe. I've been doing great." He winced but pushed forward. "I want to talk about what happened. Really talk, without your mother or brother involved." "Okay. I think we made some mistakes in how we handled things. Your mother and we've always tried to help Liam because he's struggled more than you did. You were always so capable, so independent. We didn't think you needed us the same way. So you ignored me because I could handle being ignored?" "Not ignored. We just focused our energy where it seemed most needed. And the money? The 6 years of payments? The total lack of appreciation?" He shifted uncomfortably. "We should have been more grateful. You really stepped up for your brother, and we took that for granted." This was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever gotten from him. It still wasn't actually an apology, just an acknowledgement that maybe they'd made some errors in judgment. "What about the dinner? What Liam said to me?" Dad sighed. "That was wrong. He was trying to be funny and it came out cruel. He's young. Didn't think about how it would affect you." "He's 27, Dad. That's not young. That's old enough to know you don't humiliate people in their own homes." "I know. And he knows now, too. He's been really struggling since you cut him off. Had to take a job he's overqualified for. Can barely afford his rent. Can't get ahead. I think he's learned his lesson about taking you for granted." "Is he sorry for what he said? Or just sorry about the consequences?" Dad didn't answer that. Couldn't answer it honestly because we both knew the truth. "What would it take for you to consider helping him again? Not everything like before. Just maybe covering his phone bill or car insurance. He's really drowning here." And there it was. The real reason for this lunch. Dad wanted me to start paying again. Nothing. There's nothing that would make me go back to that arrangement. So you're just going to watch your brother struggle when you could easily help?" "I'm going to let my adult brother experience the consequences of his choices and his behavior. That's not the same as making him struggle. You're being stubborn and prideful about this. I'm being self-respecting. For the first time in my relationship with this family, I'm putting myself first. If that looks like pride to you, I can't help that." Dad paid for lunch and we left. He looked defeated walking to his car. Part of me felt bad. Most of me felt relieved that I'd held firm. 4 months after cutting them off, I got an unexpected message. From Sophie. "Hey, I know this is random, but I wanted to reach out. I've been thinking about how things ended, and I feel like I let your family situation scare me off from something that was actually really good. Would you want to grab coffee sometime?" We met that weekend at a place downtown. She looked nervous, kept fidgeting with her cup. "I'm sorry for how I handled everything," she started. "Your brother was awful that night, but I should have talked to you instead of just running away. I let one bad evening with your family erase all the good stuff we had together. Your reaction was pretty normal. It was a lot to deal with. Maybe. But I've dated enough now to realize most people come with some kind of family baggage. At least yours was honest about being difficult instead of hiding it until later." We talked for 2 hours. Caught up on life, laughed about some shared memories, addressed the elephant in the room about my family situation. "I haven't talked to any of them since about a week after that dinner," I explained. "Cut off all financial support to my brother. Set firm boundaries with my parents. They didn't take it well, but I'm not backing down. How do you feel about that?" "Honestly, free. For the first time in years, I'm living my life for me instead of managing everyone else's problems and expectations." "That's good. Really good." We started dating again. Slowly, carefully, with both of us more aware of potential issues. She'd grown up and so had I in the months apart. This time felt different, more solid. My family, meanwhile, was spiraling in their own way. Liam had quit the retail job after 3 months, saying the management was toxic and didn't appreciate his ideas. Code for they expected him to actually work, and he didn't like being told what to do. He was back to job hunting while living at home rent-free. My parents were starting to realize that without me as a safety net, they were the ones stuck supporting him indefinitely. Mom had apparently been hoping I'd cave after a few months. When that didn't happen, she started pressuring Liam to figure out his life because they couldn't carry him forever. According to my uncle, there'd been some epic fights at their house. Liam didn't understand why everything was suddenly so hard. My parents were frustrated that their golden child wasn't living up to his potential. Nobody was happy. 6 months after the dinner, my parents sent a formal letter, actual paper letter in the mail, like we were in the 1800s. It was typed, weirdly formal, and clearly written by Dad in his business voice. The content was essentially an ultimatum. Either I resume helping Liam financially and rejoin the family unit, or they'd cut me out of the will, stop inviting me to family events, and consider me to have abandoned my responsibilities. I read it twice to make sure I understood correctly. They were threatening to disown me unless I went back to funding my brother's lifestyle. Sophie was over when the letter arrived. I showed it to her and her jaw dropped. Are they serious? They're threatening to cut you out of the family unless you give your brother money? Apparently. That's insane. What are you going to do? I picked up a pen and wrote across the bottom of the letter. Sounds good. Thanks for making this easy. Signed it, put it in an envelope, mailed it back. 2 days later, my mom called crying. Said I couldn't mean what I'd written, that I was destroying the family, that she couldn't believe I'd choose money over my own brother. I'm not choosing money over Liam. I'm choosing self-respect over being exploited. We're your family. How can you call it exploitation? Because for 6 years I paid his bills while working full-time and getting no appreciation. That's pretty much the definition of exploitation. You had more than he did. It was only fair that you help. I had more because I worked for it. He had less because he didn't. That's not unfair. That's reality. She hung up mid-sentence. The official disowning came via email 2 weeks later. Very formal, very final. They'd removed me from the will. I was no longer welcome at family gatherings. They considered me to have severed my relationship with them through my actions. Sophie asked if I was okay. Honestly, I'm great. They just did me a huge favor by making the break official instead of leaving it ambiguous. Started getting calls from extended family again. Some confused about what happened. Some taking sides. Some just wanting gossip. I gave the same explanation to everyone. I'd supported my brother for years. He humiliated me. I stopped supporting him. My parents demanded I resume. I refused. They cut me out. Most people understood. The ones who didn't weren't people I cared about anyway. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.